And I'll tell you something else that most people don't know, because I talked to a guy that was in Vietnam, an old guy, a long time ago. He loved it. He loved war. And his direct statement was, Scott, I have done every drug under the sun, heroin, LSD, anything. And he goes, let me tell you something. There is nothing like being in a firefight. There is no high like that ever.
You've heard.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to the podcast. This is where we discuss current events, personal growth, and any other random topic that crosses our minds. Our goal is to have a meaningful discussion that help us to see the topics we discuss more clearly. Our hope is we can help you expand your self-awareness, develop your critical thinking, and learn to be less reactive to the world around you. And most importantly, remember, be curious. If you like what you hear, like this video and subscribe to the channel. If you have any feedback, please leave a comment. We want to hear what you think.
There it is, Chris. Friday it is. Guess what?
Friday.
What do you think we're going to do today, Chris?
Friday. What are we going to do today? I don't know, Scott.
We're
I
going
think
to
we have
for like 2 hours, Chris. That's what
we have a couple hours of time to kill. Minus bio breaks and downing as much water as I can.
Yeah, exactly. So we're both on. For anybody new, we're on this thing called 75 Hard. I don't know if you've heard about it. Seems like probably most people have, right? It seems to be all the rage.
Yeah, it's been around a while.
Going around. But
our guest last week was talking about it and how great it was, and then Scott was hemming and hawing on it, and then I kind of pushed him over the edge by saying I do it too.
Is that what happened? I don't remember actually.
No. You were like trying to grasp the concept of it, and you think, oh, I kind of want to do it, and I said, okay, I'll do it with you, and then that kind of at that point we were committed. So
okay, so my start time was today.
Yep.
And let's just briefly go over the rules, and then apparently there's all these nuanced rules in there that drive me crazy, but let's just go over the basic rules, right?
Go ahead.
So you do it for 75 days, and you have to do 5 things. And if you fail any of these 5 things, you have to reset the counter back to day 1 or day 0, however you start. Some people count starting at 1, some people count starting at 0. Whatever your pleasure is, it doesn't really matter. Now, the key concept is you start over. So, number 1, you gotta take a picture of yourself every single day. Number 2, you've got to read 10 pages of some sort of a non-fiction book, a self-help book, something like that. Number 3, you got to drink 1 gallon of water every single day, actually. Number 4, you got to work out every single day, but it gets harder. 2 45-minute workouts, at least 3 or 4 hours apart, and one of them must be outdoors, regardless of what the weather is. And number 5, what's number 5? Oh, you got to eat clean and no drinking. And I'm assuming that means no drugs or whatever as well, too, I would guess.
I would guess so. My thought is it's part of the main thing about all this is discipline. So,
yeah, discipline.
Whatever diet, they're not telling you what diet to eat, but you have a diet plan and you follow your diet plan strictly, right?
Exactly. So. Yeah, exactly. Some version of a modern, like, keto, meat and vegetables, no sugar, minimum sugar, no like Twinkies, that sort of stuff, actually.
I guess you could have a McDonald's every meal plan too, couldn't you? 75 days of McDonald's for every meal.
They made a movie about that. That's what, and the guy like almost died.
Besides me, yeah.
Yeah. After 30 days, the doctor's like, "Man, you got to stop this. You're gonna die." That's crazy. That's crazy. Yep. So let me tell you the emphasis for starting this. So I've been obsessed with AI, probably over-obsessed with AI. And so what I did, when I learned, so I'm trying to learn how to talk to AI. Trying to learn how AI thinks, right, per se, is a general term. It doesn't really think, it's more of a pattern matching machine. And when I learned that, and I learned it by speaking to AI, it's interesting. AI will be very, very transparent, or at least appears to be transparent with how it works. And so I'm starting to learn about transformers and how it gets trained and how many GPUs it uses. And the funny thing, Chris, depending on what AI you talk to, you'll get more information or less information. So Grok tends to be, it gives you more information. It doesn't hide as much from you. Or ChatGPT and Claude, it tends to hide more, which is kind of interesting. And I don't really know if that's by design or not. I'm not really sure. But that's just been my experience. So what I did is I'm starting this new company called Profit Trigger. It's going to be some sort of AI and marketing automation company. And since it does pattern matching, I explained what it did through conversations that I've had with it. And I asked it, like, what's my percentage chance of success with a match? And so it gave me like an 80% success chance, but it identified two key areas of weakness for me. They said if you could clean these up, you'd have pretty much 100% chance of success. I'm like, cool. What are they? One was discipline, and the other is clarity. And so I did that by transcribing these podcasts and uploading just a few sessions, actually, and I went out and analyzed everything. And it's kind of cool. Some of it I got right. Some of it didn't read. AI is a funny thing. I mean, it's so unpredictable at times. It can be so good for certain things and just so bad at other things. It's like, I don't fully understand it at this point. So I don't know if you've experienced that or not with it.
Well, there are things that it just can't adjust to, right? And I actually think of it more than likely, it's not all being handled by the same, I don't want to use agent, but the same entity on the back end.
Whatever.
And so what ends up happening is whatever subroutine, sub entity, sub whatever that's out there doing it doesn't communicate well with the main thing. So you tell it to do something, and it seems like the LLM understands what you want, but for some reason it's not translating to the actual agent or whatever that's doing the actual work at the tail end of it.
Yeah.
And so I think you see this most often when you're dealing with graphics, right? Basically, you tell it to do something, it goes and tells Dolly or whatever the thing on the back end is making it is to make the graphic, but it misses out a whole bunch of stuff because the variability, the temperature or whatever is big. You can say specifically, make this and be ultra prescriptive in what you want, and what'll come back will be something where it went off topic totally because it's got a built-in creativity level or something.
Randomness probably or something. Yeah.
I don't want creativity. I know what I want. I've already done the creative part here. I just need you to implement it. Mm-hmm. And so sometimes it doesn't do that. So I think quite often what happens is there's a disconnect between the part of the AI that's doing the work and the part of the AI that's telling it what to do.
Yeah, and that's one of the things with the Grok. We do Grok Heavy, which is the $300 a month one. Apparently, what it does is when you give it a query, what it is, it breaks it up into multiple what they call agents, and each of these agents goes out and independently does, and somehow it figures out how to break it up into different pieces. And then what happens is each one of these agents will go out and do work, but they are constantly communicating with each other. So if one finds the right answer, it'll talk to the other ones, and that'll steer their direction. And then when it all comes back together.
Is it talking to each other, or is it talking back to the primary one who's then updating the agents?
That I don't know. I think
because that's the way other models that I've seen work. Like when people are building client agents and clients and the like, they have a central control center, a control manager or whatever. That's an AI, which is usually an AI tool, maybe an LLM, and then it goes and splits up the work to the agents. The agents do the work and come back. It then validates that the work that comes back is in fact what it wants, and if not, it goes and it tells the agent to do more work.
Well, I wasn't aware that anybody else except for Grok Heavy had a multi-agent approach.
No, but this is what people are building. This has nothing to do with the LLM itself. This is how people are building their tools in automations, like in N8N and other places like that.
Okay, so they're sort of simulating that or doing that themselves instead of just having...
It feels like what's happened here is Grok, this LLM, is just doing what other people have been building for a year now, 2 years now.
Could be, yeah. That I don't know, actually. So
okay, interesting. I know that because there's the reason I ask is because there's an established group of people who follow something similar to this. It sounds like. Okay. Go ahead.
So that I don't know. So then, where was I? Remind me. Where was I going with this?
You were trying to understand how it. We're talking about how it gets things wrong, and I was mentioning the fact that maybe the agent is not doing the right work correctly, and you were saying these agents are somehow updating and communicating with each other.
Yeah, so according to Elon Musk, and what I've learned is so you typically have 4 agents going out, and they'll somehow interact with each other in some way, and this is the highest level. I don't know technically how it does. And then it comes back, and finally they all, come into some sort of an agreement with each other. And then he didn't mention something about that. Then there's one agent that synthesizes everything. And then basically you come back with a better answer with a less chance of hallucinating, actually.
Yep.
And I'll tell you, I've been playing with Grok, both the heavy and the $30 version simultaneously, and it gives some really solid answers. I mean, it's I wouldn't call it the best. It's like I'm trying. What I'm trying to do, Chris, is because I'm just spending a bunch of money right now, and I'm trying to figure out what the best one is, and that's very hard for me to decide right now because I think in terms of more of their difference, I don't know that you could call one best from what I've just by initial working with them.
What I'm finding is chat is underperforming what it did a few months ago, in my mind.
How did you determine that?
It just doesn't seem to be coming up with as much information. The clarity doesn't seem to be there. The delays in its processing seem to have been increasing. The quality of the output of things like earlier I was talking about the graphics. Those seem to have gotten less accurate in some way. And so I don't know what they've done to dialing around with their parameters or their settings, but or just maybe just the sheer load of people using it. But it really, to me, there's been a decline in chat's quality of output.
What model are you using?
Whatever the basic paid model uses, what 4?
4.0. That's the standard one.
I think it's 4.0 is what I use. Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, I have used some of the like I'd use one of the free agents or whatever you get, and I've in some of the deep research and stuff, and those are fun to play with too. But I find for most things, like for Claude, I'm using the base one Claude gives you, and I find the way it does research and the output it gives, I much prefer. Although the one thing is it can't generate images like chat can. So even chat with its suboptimal images is still producing images.
Yeah.
Whereas, Claude will try to code an HTML graphic, which is kind of neat, but it doesn't necessarily meet the needs. It looks like a line drawing someone does, which may not be what you're after.
Yeah, that's what I found too. I've asked all of them to produce images, and almost all of them get it wrong almost all the time. I mean, every once in a while you'll get like a one that's like, "Oh, I could actually use that." No, for me, the vast bulk of time, what I'm doing, it's always wrong,
Well, when there was that big push where everyone was taking their pictures and turning it into like Japanese animation characters and stuff like that, when that first came out and I played around with it, I was shocked at how much quality I got out of what it was producing. And when I would give it text, you know how quite often when you put text, you say, here, make a version of this picture with text in it. And, AI often screws up the text. It misspells the word. And it was not misspelling anything. I had quotes in there, and it was not misspelling a word. And now it's back to misspelling words again. So I don't know what's changed.
Well, I know for OpenAI, they have a bunch of different models. And they don't always release the right one, and it's always balanced between speed and cost and performance. And so I'm on the $200 plan, so I have less restrictions. Because I know I was on the $20 plan, I'd get shut off constantly. You'd say, oh, your number of messages is locked and you need to wait for 3 hours before you can like go more or whatever. So
I rarely get shut out of that one. I have been shut out of Claude once, but generally I'm not I guess I'm not hitting the limits.
That's good for you. Maybe I'm more obsessed with it than you are actually. So but I usually got shut down.
I don't know, maybe my prompts are more efficient than yours.
Yeah, you're probably just better at it than I am. I'm pretty sure that's where it always goes. Yeah, exactly.
Well, I often wonder, is one long prompt going to use more tokens or more power than multiple small prompts?
Well, I don't know. I mean, typically, that's pretty easy to figure out. Because you figure on average, what is it like? An average word is. Wait, hang on. What was it like? An average word is 1.3 tokens or something, so it's relatively
Something
easy
like
to
that,
add
yeah.
up. But with at least the version I have, with ChatGPT, you can ask it how many tokens are you using. It'll just give you the number, which is cool. Whether it's accurate.
Well, the interesting thing though is like because the longer the prompt, the more processing power goes up, and it goes up what exponentially.
I don't know.
So like if you double the number of words, the processing power goes up by 4.
Okay, yeah.
Right. So that means a longer prompt, a bunch of short prompts should use less processing power. So, and I use really long prompts, so
Okay.
mine should actually eat up a lot of processing power. But I don't know what else is going on as well, because I rarely run into a system limit.
Yeah, I don't know either. I do know just I've watched quite a few people, and there's like that one guy. I don't know if you watched any of his videos, but he's kind of interesting. The guy with the beard. I can't remember what it was. The one I sent you on text a while
I
ago.
watched a couple of his, yeah. So
But I watched all. I think I've watched almost every single one of his videos, and the general consensus from him is there's not a lot of transparency between these models as to what they're actually doing. I mean, there's just, in fact, he's saying there's a lot of people very frustrated because they're just not open about what they're doing and how they're doing it and everything. So, and maybe they're doing that because the technology is so new, they don't want to commit to anything. Maybe they test stuff and then who knows? Who knows?
well, I wonder if how much of it's overhead to control the output, right? So we know that if you touch on certain topics, it gets filtered. Some
Mhm.
stuff it says I can't talk about that. Other things it's very careful about how it gives you
Yeah.
information,
Yeah.
right?
Exactly.
Anything that's sensitive, they're going to be very careful of. And so I wonder how much of the tokens that you normally should have had for processing are eaten up by administratively filtering.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't know. I know that for the like all the $20 plans, I was getting and Grok, the $30 plan, I was constantly getting shut out. Maybe I'm just more obsessed with it than you are, or something like that. So I just I just upgraded everything because I figure, well, I'm just gonna throw money at it. And I never get shut out now because you pay more. So I'm kind of fooled. So anyways, let me get back to my point, right? Did I tell you about this? So it analyzed, yeah, I think I told you this already. So it analyzed some of our podcasts. I uploaded like 6 or 7. And basically it said how awesome I am and just how jacked up you are, surprisingly, actually.
Yeah, and we know it gets things wrong all the time. So
Exactly. That was a good one, man. Good. um, no, anyways, what it said was that we had different strengths and weaknesses. And it actually made a suggestion. That's why you guys work so well together, because there's this sort of synergistic fit between the two of you, which I thought that's pretty cool. Okay. I mean, we kind of know that since we've been doing this. And I mean, the chance of us not having something to say is pretty much non-existent, you know?
well, I think that comes from a couple of things. First of all, we have enough similarity in thought and background and belief that we can usually get deep into a topic, pretty far into a topic, without having to decipher it and define
Yeah.
it, because we have a lot of similarity. But we also have a mindset to ask questions and to think about how things
Yeah.
fit together,
Mhm.
which then allows us to kind of delve into your view of a puzzle and my view of a puzzle, and then see how closely we view that puzzle together, and where we differ. Because where we differ is going to be an interesting thing. Is it that I'm wrong? Is it that you're wrong? Is it that you're just seeing something different than I'm seeing? You know, what is it that makes that
Yeah.
different?
I think I tend to think our backgrounds are different. So we just, because I've just been in this small company, resource limited, move, ready, fire, aim sort of thing. Because
Mhm.
otherwise we're going to die. And so I just fundamentally see things differently, you know, than you do. Or you've been in a bigger company where you're not going to go out of business in 2 weeks if you don't make a sale. I mean, you've got enough oxygen, you know, that you can go for a few weeks and you can make a lot of mistakes without dying, which is a very different environment to operate in.
It is, and honestly, part of the problem or part of the difficulty in the last place I worked was, since it was a not-for-profit, but it wasn't traditionally not-for-profit has to scrounge for money, right? They're always
Mhm.
fundraising and stuff. That last company I was at didn't need to do that because it made money off of internet domain name sales. So it always had some amount of money coming in. Sometimes it go up, sometimes it go down.
Yeah.
But because of that, there was very little focus on money, and money became kind of like an evil thing. You didn't want to talk about it. So quite often, it was, since it wasn't as, it became more of a worry over time. But in the beginning, it wasn't so much of a worry. So that meant it was all about, well, what are we trying to do? How much can we spend? And I think in many ways, it made for different types of inefficiency.
Yeah. Right.
When you're measuring, when money is your measurement, and everyone's measuring things in money, you understand the decisions. We made this decision to save money.
Yeah.
We cut this, we cut that, we went with a cheaper option, whatever it is. Those all make sense. When that's not a consideration anymore, how do you measure your decisions against?
Yeah. Right.
What do you
What are
measure
your
against?
constraints? We always talk about those, and the constraints are
Mhm.
just different. And you know, in a small company, the constraints are always sort of money and lack of time. So those are not even, you don't even need to bring those up because those are just assumed in every sort of conversation, unless you're explicitly not, mentioned.
Well, and this is where you talked last week about Hormozy saying that you need to be concentrating on the one thing
Yeah.
that would give you success and just do that nonstop. And I'm like, yeah, when you're busy running all the pieces of a company,
Yeah.
how do you do that? How do you divorce yourself from paying your taxes? How do you divorce yourself from doing your accounting, from paying your vendors, from doing procurement, from all the other payroll, any of those types of things? And you can't, right?
No, you can't.
So
Right.
so there's this whole prioritization thing is how do you get to the point where you're able to prioritize the thing that gets you the most benefit?
Yeah. Yeah.
Right.
That's right.
And that's why you're always pressed for time because you got 15 things to do. You don't have someone to do it.
Yeah.
Right. So and that's what half the AI tools that are out there today are trying to feed that market.
Yeah.
Right. Saying I can take over some of that stuff that you need to get done.
Yeah. Right. 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 Yeah, exactly. And that's my market, the small business, somewhere in the $500,000 to 2 million, 3 million in revenue sort of thing, typically founder run. And they're just running as fast as they can, And they know things are leaking. They know I've got inefficiencies. I know, but if I stop running to fix one, I'm dead. So they can't stop, And they don't really have enough extra cash to really go out and significantly, pay somebody or pay a big agency to come in. So they're constantly looking for these just cheap Band-Aid fixes. Let's just put a Band-Aid on it for right now. At least it's going to stop the bleeding at least for a week, right? I mean, that's sort of the thought mentality.
Yeah, and unfortunately, that's I think why so many companies have a hard time getting out of the 1 year, 2 year, 5 year mark is because if you're stuck always firefighting, you get tired, you're going to make a mistake, you're going to get hit with something that you aren't ready for. So some level of planning and capacity building has to be included in anything you do. But when and how do you do it?
Yeah. When you do it when your revenue gets to a certain point. So just typically what I've seen, and these are just general numbers that I've sort of just kind of wandered into. Typically, if you're going from 0 to 1 million in revenue, it's just run as fast as you can to get to $1 million. It's literally just hammer, just beat on it till you get it to work right. That's typically the thing. Now, that technique, if you want to go from 1 to 10, almost never works. I mean, I don't know what the number is, but something like 98% of those companies will fail in that thing because when you're going from 1 to 10, now you got to hire people. Now you have to have processes. Now you have to have systems. And that initial 0 to 1, their mind just doesn't go to that. It just doesn't work, right? And so then the successful ones that actually do make that transition, boy, it's hard on them. Because almost in every case, what they have to do is they have to bring in an outside person, a CEO, to run the company. And many of the founders, their egos won't let them do that. Well, they're like, wait a minute, I'm the guy, right? I run the show. It's like, so you're telling me I'm going to hire a CEO? Like that's going to be my boss? And it's like, they can't do it, right? It just doesn't work for them.
I hear what you're saying. I'm wondering if I agree with that.
Okay, that's okay. Yeah.
That in order to grow past that point, they need the CEO. Because this is how I see it, right? You're building a business. You're intimately involved with every process.
Yeah.
So you know it backward and forward, and so you know when something fails in one spot, how it's impacting every other piece because you're there for all of it. You built it all. But that's not scalable. You can't scale that up and still have that level, right? So what you need to do is you need to be able to outsource to employees, to consultants, to service providers.
Yes.
Parts of that, right?
Yes.
And so that's why you talk about, I'm going to have someone build me an agent to handle my call center. I'm going to have this. I'm going to, so it's why you often have to have an office manager, someone who they are balancing different, because an office manager is kind of a broad set of skills, right? Yeah. And so they're doing a lot of those stuff to lift it off of you. So you're still involved in the processes, but you're only dealing with the top part of those processes, the leadership part, the decision-making part, right? And if you get a good office manager and a good process person or good whatever, then you can outsource what you can you can hire people to do what you can, and you get someone to sit there and who just inherently knows how to make your process a little bit better.
Yeah.
And a little bit better is a huge impact in the beginning.
Yeah.
You know,
A little bit better.
yeah, your process someday could get to the point where it takes 50% of the time and the money, but in the beginning, just 10% makes a huge deal.
Yeah.
And if the head of the company had the time to put in to each of those processes, they can make each process 10% better.
Yeah, they could do a reason.
Right?
They're not great at anything, but they're a good generalist,
Well,
right?
because they're so integral to understanding how the business runs.
Yeah.
They could understand we can change this, we can change this, we can change this, and they're the decision maker, so they can make it happen.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Right? So usually any process that gets overhauled, you can easily find 20% of savings of some sort in it, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So what you need to do is you need to find someone you can trust that you can hire. So you said CEO, and this is where I'm wondering if it needs to be a CEO. But you need someone to bring in that skill set who brings in the ability to put the attention on those pieces and make them better.
Yeah.
So that's why I'm not sure it's a CEO, but I do agree that they need to bring people in, and they need to bring in people who have a skill set that they don't have or they don't have the time to use, and then they have to listen to that person and do what that person says in regards to that aspect. And they're still the head, they're still the decision maker, they still own the company, but for this, they hire an expert. The expert is the one who's making these decisions.
Well, since you pushed back, I'm going to clarify a little bit more. I probably misspoke at the one that typically maybe starts happening up in the $7, $8, $9, $10 million range. Somewhere in there, we'll have to bring in, and maybe CEO is not the right word, but it's more of a professional management, and maybe it's like a president or something like, maybe not a CEO. It's like somebody that's going to run the day-to-day.
Operations manager, director, someone who's going to take a lot of the administrative load and operational load off of that person.
Yeah. And I just generally, I probably misspoke. I just generally call that role like the CEO person. Just president might be better. That runs the day-to-day of the business, the day-to-day ins and outs of stuff. So
yeah, I don't even consider that the CEO, but I understand what you're saying.
Yeah, whatever that function is called, whatever. And it starts at the small level. It starts, you're right, with the office manager, and usually even before the office manager, it starts with maybe like just a part-time QuickBooks person to come in and start doing some of the QuickBooks, right?
Well, and that's what we're talking about, outsourcing parts of it, right?
Yeah.
So this is where the little services that exist today and that a lot of these AI tools are filling now can do a lot of this stuff. The problem that I see with a lot of this is there's still overhead to manage and use those AI tools.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
So that person who's on the fast track to grow their company still needs someone to operate the AI.
Yeah.
So maybe they don't need the guy who's got accounting skills and sales skills and marketing skills and graphic design skills, because all the AIs can do that now, but you need someone to aggregate that work.
Yeah. Some sort of manager, some sort of control system somewhere, well,
I thought it was interesting. I think I told you about the guy who runs companies off of Claude, and he basically has a master company prompt that he uses to run his companies off of Claude.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
But one of the things he says is he's taken Claude and given it all the processes, given it all that stuff, and he's basically eliminated the VP layer of the company. So you've got directors who are in charge of parts of the company that get things done, and you got managers and worker bees under them. And he says once the refinements get put into play, the director level is going to go away, and all you're going to have is process managers and doers left. So you'll have the top management, and then the service process managers, and then the people who do the work.
Yeah, no, that's exactly right. And that's been coming for a long time, even without AI, is that like those middle managers that really just like translate, the big boss says do this, and they just basically repeat it back to the people and just sort of watch them and make sure they actually do the work. That's been going away for that's been going away for 20 years.
I've never viewed middle management that way, but that's probably because when I'm in middle management, that's not the way I work.
Well, yeah, but you're a unique individual. Pretty much I view middle management as just worthless, basically. They just block everything. They just delay. They just confuse. They just want control. So basically, I feel like as a general, but this is my perception of a small company, is either you're the worker bee or you're like really running the strategy, right? You're responsible for it.
But a small company, the worker bee and the head of the company communicate.
Yeah, in fact, a lot of times they sit right next to each other. They're in one big
Yeah.
room right
The
next to
problem
each
is
other.
when you get over 100 people, 200 people, 500 people,
Oh,
there's
that's a difference. That's something I know
th- th-
nothing about, that
then, then
skill.
then then the worker bee doesn't talk to the boss. So
Yeah, right,
then
right.
what happens is the boss needs a layer of people to communicate for him.
Yeah, layers of
And
abstraction,
and
right.
the problem is the boss good at communicating their vision? Is the
Most
middle
likely
layer good
no.
at communicating the boss's vision? Is
Yeah,
the middle layer good at making sure the work underneath occurs in a way that fulfills what the boss wants
yeah,
done?
yes,
Right. So there's so the expectation on that middle layer is totally different than the
yes,
top. The
yes.
top has to have a vision and communicate it. The bottom has to be able to deliver it. The guy in the middle needs to plug the two together and make sure
Yeah, yeah.
they work.
And usually I only seen this operate in small companies, but like you mentioned, you'll have the office manager, and usually, and that sometimes that role will morph in from the not the accountant, but the bookkeeper running bookkeeps. Maybe they'll come in, like they'll start out maybe coming in, I don't know, come in 3 hours on a Friday afternoon and just
Your
clean
your
everything up.
your original bookkeeper is probably one of the best people to understand how the business runs.
Yeah, and so that position, what I've seen, typically has a high chance of growing into an office manager.
Yeah, I
Because,
can see that.
and it's usually a she, right? It says she's answered the phone on a Friday. Then he's like, hey, could you come in Tuesday afternoon too? And then, hey, when you're in, do you mind just picking up a couple of the phone calls that are here? And then, hey, we got these vendors coming in. They're going to drop it off in delivery. Hey, could you manage the inventory? Because we're always running out of paper and toilet paper. Can you just kind of manage that too? And it sort of grows into that.
So Scott, I'm gonna think, and you can correct me on this. I'm gonna comment on what I think in a smaller company. Each individual is much better versed at understanding what the company does, understanding how the company operates, understanding how the different functions work. How does sales work and marketing work?
Yeah.
How does the website work? Where do the phone calls go? Who do we route to what? So there's a high chance that everyone in the company knows the processes, and so they can help direct things when that person's overwhelmed or not around.
Yeah. Because they
Right?
have to. They have to.
Yeah.
Right.
And what I think happens when a company gets big enough to where you have multiple people in each role is then they only focus internally to what they do.
Yeah. Now they start specializing in their little
And
groups.
so you
Right?
end up then with whole departments in companies who have no idea what their company does, and they couldn't articulate what that company sells.
They don't know.
They
Right.
couldn't do any, and so that's what I find. That's why several of the companies that I found were really good about setting up their people to really align with the company and understanding the company were the ones that basically take all new hires and shove them into customer service for the first
Oh,
3
there
to
you
6
go.
months.
Yes. Right.
Right?
Exactly.
It's like for the first 3 to 6 months, all you're doing is customer service. Oh, but I'm a coder. I'm an engineer. Yeah, but you need to learn what this company is and what it does.
Right.
You
Exactly.
need to learn about the client, the customer. You need to learn about their needs, their pain points, all that stuff. And the best way to do that is to talk to them.
Talk to them. I know, and that's so unpopular, but that is the best possible thing. It's
Well,
like,
think about it. If you're paying for 3 months or 6 months of a coder's salary to sit there in customer service, that it's a big investment of money because you could probably hire three customer service people for the price of that coder.
yeah, but it creates clarity, Chris. Now you know what problem you're solving. Actually,
I'm not going to say it's wrong. I think it's the right thing to do.
yeah,
but
absolutely.
I mean, from a numbers game, it's harder to justify.
Yes, and that's more of a long-term strategy, right? I mean, at that point, you're maybe starting to move away from, hey, we struggle with payroll every 2 weeks. We've actually got a little money in the bank, so we've got a little more, runway.
The video game, is it World of Warcraft?
Yeah,
So that's made by what is it? The company here in Irvine.
yeah, exactly. Blizzard Entertainment. Yeah,
Blizzard, right? And I remember years ago I was talking to one of the guys that worked there, one of the managers of something, and they have a lot. They always have a lot of customer service jobs open,
yeah,
and they don't pay well.
yeah,
But they are such a popular gaming company
Oh,
that
yeah.
people want to work for them.
yeah, absolutely.
But it's also what are the ways they feed the other departments? They have people work in customer service for a while,
Yeah,
and then as roles open up, they apply for other jobs and they move into it.
yeah,
At that point, they understand their product
Yes.
exceedingly well,
yeah,
right?
Yeah.
And so it's hard to get into that company at a high level, but if you're starting off and you want to get into to games and stuff like that, that seems like a great way to do it.
yeah,
And the idea of I think from an organizational health perspective, it's one of the best ways to grow your team members.
yeah. Well, and that's the military does that. I mean, the military, no matter what position you get to in the military, you all start at boot camp. This is how you
Well,
tie your shoes, right? This is how you
that's the
shoot
whole
a gun.
idea of like, let's strip away everything that makes you what you are, and we're going to build you into a Lego block that we can put anywhere.
Yep.
Right? I mean, it's great when you're building an organization that needs to be adaptable and that you can rely on, and you need your widgets to be good widgets no matter what.
Yeah, right.
It's not so good when you're trying to go for individualism. But then again, the military doesn't really allow for that until later. First, I got to make you into a typical little Lego block here, and then we can start, adding other elements to the Legos that make you, right?
Yeah, that's exactly right. And I don't care if you do the lowest function. If you're like a cook, if you're a janitor, you know how to kill people with a gun, because that is the essential function.
Well, unless you were a Quaker during World War II, and then you got an exemption from that.
Well, okay, that's an example, yeah. But the common thing is like in the Marines, like what is it? Every Marine's a rifleman, right? That's everybody goes through rifle training. That's just what you do, You learn how to make your bed, right? You just learn the fundamental skills.
There's something to be said for giving everyone the same background to work off of. It means that no matter how much you and I disagree, we know there's a core level of ability, competency, knowledge that we all share.
It's a shared experience as well, too.
Right. So as much as I might disagree with you, I need to, if I respect my ability in myself, I need to respect that ability in you.
Yeah, right.
So this is the argument I always make about, when we complain about, in the 70s and the 80s when all the politicians were old white guys.
Yeah.
Right? That is a problem from a diversity aspect. But they also all went to the military together. They were in Vietnam together. They were in World War II together. They all shared those experiences. So even when they were on opposite sides of the aisle politically, there was a core understanding that this person, went through has these similarities to me because we all went through the war together.
Yeah.
We went through basic training together.
Yeah.
And so I think there was an ingrained respect by knowing that the person went through that.
And trust.
And we don't have that today.
Yeah.
And I think diversity makes that hard. Because diversity, the whole purpose of diversity is not to have the same background, right? Yeah. And so it's the value you get from everyone having a shared background is also something that that you're not going to have in a diverse. So you have to give up one to get the other.
Yeah, right.
So if we want diversity, we're going to have more people who don't respect each other. That's crazy, because the whole point of diversity is to make us respect others with different ideas, and yet because we don't have the same background, we respect each other less. Is that a contradiction?
Yeah, but I think I want to use different words for it. It's a shared experience that builds trust, right? So I don't care if you're a black guy, a white guy, what color you are, how smart you are, where you come from in the country. And they do this intentionally. It's like they bring you down, everybody gets shaved, everybody gets the same clothes, so you are the same, right? Mm-hmm. You look the same.
Doesn't matter how smart you are, doesn't matter if you have a college degree, doesn't matter, yeah.
You're a piece of shit to start out with. We start from the bottom, right? And you don't know how to do anything, so we're going to teach you how to make your bed, how to tie your shoes. I mean, we teach everything.
Yeah, no, I get the psychology of why they do it.
Yeah.
I mean, honestly, you want to build cohesion, you give people the same background.
Yes.
Right? You give them the sergeant as the enemy for them to bitch about and complain about.
Yeah.
Right? And I gosh, this is okay, now I'm going to go off on a tangent here. Science fiction tangent here.
Go ahead, go for it.
In the book Dune.
Yeah.
Right, science fiction book, the Emperor has these troops, the Sardaukar, and they go through hell on a hell world to become really tough.
Yeah.
And in the process, they build a camaraderie, a brotherhood around them, where they identify with having gone through hell together.
Yes.
And that reinforces their kind of blind loyalty to the Emperor or what it's like. This is in fact what armies do. It's what they're supposed to do.
Yeah.
I mean, if you want to make people kill other people, we're not automatically wired to be able to kill other people.
No.
So you need to not only give them the skills, you need to give them the mindset. So much of fighting in a war is to dehumanize the other side to the point where the person pulling the trigger can do that without going crazy.
Yes. Yes.
Right?
Yes.
I need to view the other side as not human, as
Yes.
less than human,
Yeah,
as
right.
horrible, evil people.
Mhm.
Regardless of whether that's true or not, that's what I need my military people to think. So this
Yeah.
has always been one of the things I found to be most interesting. Why do we have so much PTSD today? Is it because it was always there and we didn't recognize it? Or is it because we are now putting our soldiers in a situation where they're supposed to identify the others as being equals and, they're human beings or whatever, and you also need to be able to kill them?
Yeah. Yeah.
So before we would say you'd brainwash, oh yeah, they're the Germans, they're the Nazis, they're the Jerrys, or whatever we would say. We
Yeah.
would use derogatory terms to allow us to our soldiers to get over
Yeah.
killing them.
Yeah.
And we don't do that anymore, or maybe we do, and I just don't know about it. But I think that causes a lot of mental stress for our soldiers, because how can I respect the other side and then also kill them?
Well, I mean, and that may cause some stress, Chris. I think most of the stress, though, comes from if you're in combat. I mean, you just have to go through some and see horrific things. And in my opinion, no human should ever have to see those things, right?
Okay, I get that, and we get shell shock in World War I, and we get all of these types of things that happen. But my wonder is, our soldiers are part of psychological conditioning. That's part of how we allow them to be to follow orders that may put them in danger. Right at the end of the day.
Well, yeah, they select
Right?
for that. Yeah, that's the whole idea.
And so I'm just wondering, as part of that, as we've changed as a society and our value systems and what we can openly say about how we do things,
Yeah.
have we changed the way we psychologically condition in a way that makes it harder for them to identify that, oh, the enemy is just as human as we are. They have the same rights to freedom and blah 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 as we do, but I'm going to be able to kill them.
Well, of
Whereas
course
in the
makes
old
it
days, it
harder.
was like
Yeah.
they're all horrible people. They're killing, they're raping, they're murdering. And so when I kill them, I'm doing a good service for
Yeah.
mankind
Yeah.
and my
Right.
country.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right? And so I mean, that you can, if you believe that, you can get by doing that stuff. If you don't believe that, I think you're going to stress out. You're going to go crazy in some
Yeah.
ways.
Well, they train. I mean, people when they train the military people. I mean, not with the whole woke thing, but I'm saying historically, like Vietnam or something like that. I mean, they had geniuses in psychology. I mean, and everything is done for a purpose. Actually, in fact, the chants they do, the running they do. They want you in a certain heart rate and a certain thing, and they're implanting subconsciously through songs into your thing. I mean, watch Full Metal Jacket. It explains it all. I mean, that's like about as accurate as it gets.
Yeah, no, I was just the tangent I was going on there was I'm wondering if the world we live in today and the way we have to present other people, the enemy in this case, makes it harder for the military and therefore that we're seeing that in the results of soldiers coming home with PTSD and other things.
Oh, does it? Oh, yeah. Okay, so I don't know. If I just had to take a guess, I would think probably not. I think PSD comes from tremendous stress, like in combat. I mean, literally, you like hang out with this dude and he gets shot and he like dies, bleeds all over you. I mean, that'll mess you up,
That will mess you up. But the other thing is, if you're in a situation where you have to kill the enemy,
Yeah.
right?
Well,
How are you viewing the enemy? What is the mental state you're in to be able to allow you to pull the trigger? And not everyone's going to be a special forces person who's able to go through different levels of who basically gets more training and better training and probably is better aligned to being able to have two different opinions and still act.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah.
Whereas your grunt soldier is not going to have that kind of training and that kind of access, and so you're going to give them the whatever the basic training is, and then still expect them to go shoot somebody.
Yeah.
So I think a lot of it is this cognitive dissonance of like, I had to kill another human being.
Yeah.
Not I had to kill some horrible enemy of America. Not I had to kill some subhuman person, which is what we would have done in the past.
Yeah.
They're the bad guys, right? Now it's like, oh, they're not so bad. They're just fighting for a different cause than we are. I mean, I don't know. Is that what's happening? Because that would, in my mind, would be like, I had to kill someone who was just like me.
Well, I mean, I can like tell you like actual stories. I'm never been in the military. I've never been in combat and anything, but I can tell you people who have and the stories that they've said to me directly. This is personal experience, and how they have a hard time justifying it. So there are certain cases, like let's take a sniper or something like that. typically a job of a sniper is Overwatch. He's basically just watches and gathers intelligence. That's 90% of his job. And occasionally he'll protect ground troops, right? So he's in an elevated position and he's protecting his soldiers actually that are going around. And I know in one story there was like a young kid. I mean, like I want to say like 12 or 13 years old that had a RPG that was going to shoot some of his guys, and he had to kill a kid, right? And I mean, that sucks to be put in that position. Like, okay, I'm going to kill a kid, but that kid's going to kill my guys, so I guess I got to kill a kid. I mean, that is going to screw you up. I mean, that is a bad position.
Even in that scenario, in my mind, the sniper probably has a level of training and expectation that goes beyond the average grunt soldier.
He does. He's been selected for that.
Right.
But still.
Selected. And well, no, I'm not going to say he doesn't have the problem, but I'm going to say let's take away that special training and then put them in the same situation. I think it's going to have more of a psychological impact on them. Therefore, I'm saying I wonder how much of our what it seems like an increase in PTSD is just better recognition that we know that we're better aware of it, and how much of it is actually because the tools we used in the past to get people into a psychological state to be able to kill, we don't have as available to us today.
Oh, that I don't know. I can't speak to any of that. I don't know.
This is how my mind works. Like
no data.
I see an increase in PTSD either through awareness or through or actual numbers. I don't know which one it is.
Yeah.
And
right.
so then I ask the question. I wonder why.
Yeah.
Are there? Is it just that war is that much worse than it was before?
I don't think
so. Or
so.
is something else changing? And so my guess is something else is changing. And in the past, we were able to condition our troops to be able to pull the trigger, and now it's harder for them to do. I've always thought. I think it was probably easier to kill Nazis in World War II from a mindset than it is to kill people today, simply because we branded them as the enemy in a way that really made us not think highly of them.
Well, I think this is great. I think what I'd like to do is I'd like to actually, I mean, I don't know if this is even possible, but I'd love to bring an actual soldier on that's
Sure.
killed a
Go
bunch
ahead.
of people that has actually done it, and to get their experience,
Yeah, so this is an interesting thing, right? Because I think the average soldier is not going to have to kill that many people in general, at least not in the current day, right? So when you're talking about that level of person, you're probably talking about people who are already better trained than the average soldier.
Yeah. But I know a lot of soldiers come back with a lot of PTSD. I can't even know what it is. PT, yeah. And they've seen horrific things, actually. And the suicide rate is tremendously high. I mean, many of them kill themselves. And I'll tell you something else that most people don't know, because I talked to a guy that's in Vietnam, an old guy, a long time ago. He loved it. He loved war. And his direct statement was, Scott, I have done every drug under the sun. Heroin, LSD, anything. And he goes, let me tell you something. There is nothing like being in a firefight. There is no high like that ever.
You've heard of the fact, like people who in the wars had the job of like being the minesweeper and dismantling, finding mines and dismantling them, and the level of stress and risk they're going under puts them in an adrenaline state that when they get home, they gamble, they do all kinds, they do drugs, they do all kinds of stuff to try to recreate that state of high.
They're addicted to it. Yeah, absolutely.
And I mean. Yeah, that's an interesting thing, and that could be part of warfare too, right? Because when you're being shot at, you're going to be at a different level of adrenaline than when you're not.
Well, and they're different groups. I mean, I don't know what the percentage is. Most of them are not like that, but there's a certain number of them that are hunters. I mean, they do it intentionally. But they hunt for sport, and they're like, I can't believe I'm getting paid to like hunt real live people, and I don't get in trouble for it. I mean, they're like, this is the best job in the world, Now, most are not like that, but there's a handful of them that are.
It scares me, but I guess we need a variety of people.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. Because in our society, we're very whitewashed. You're not allowed to do this. You're not allowed to do that. I mean, you're allowed to do certain things, but not other things. You're certainly not allowed to just go kill people. for sport. I mean, that is.
Yeah, no society should allow that because it wouldn't survive very long if you could just if you could kill your own citizens for fun.
Yeah, exactly.
I just kill my neighbors for fun. That society's not going to last very long.
Not going to last. Right, exactly.
And it's going who's got the biggest gun or the biggest muscles. They're the ones who are going to be survivors in that world.
Yeah. It's a very tribal, very animalistic based or whatever. But I'll tell you something, Chris. As a human behavior, this whatever you call this shield of properness or of society is pretty thin. And I'll tell you, if you see any natural disaster, I mean, it breaks down real fast,
Sure. But, I mean, you think about it. Animals are designed to preserve themselves.
Yes, right.
Right? Even more than, in most cases, even more than protecting your family, you protect yourself.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Now there's a layer of family protection that goes in, protecting your offspring that's also built into that, right? But basically, if you don't survive, your offspring probably isn't going to survive.
Yeah.
So you need to survive yourself. Then you protect the family.
Yeah.
Then you protect the tribe. And as you become safe.
Yeah.
As whatever it is becomes safe, now you can put attention to the next bigger thing, the next bigger thing, the next bigger thing, right? Tying back to something I was thinking when we were talking earlier about having the same background as other people.
Yeah.
I think, growing up, we did the Pledge of Allegiance. We did all these types of things. We were taught about all these great Americans historically. They weren't being subject to cancel culture. We weren't saying that, someone owned a slave 300 years ago when that was okay.
Yeah.
And now everything they ever did is discounted as having no meaning. We're not saying any of that back then, right? Because of that, there was a kind of a general belief in how good America was.
Yeah.
Given all the bad things there, but it was still overall a great place. Yeah. And you go back to World War II, and the campaign. Some of my favorite World War II movies were great to watch because I remember one where these two guys were on the tower in a submarine. They were outside. The submarine was on the surface. They were out in the top of the tower looking out. And one of them's talking to the other about going to visit his girlfriend back home or something like that. And in the background was this patriotic music going on. And it was campy as hell. But I'm like, that is the thing that feeds into our pride in our country. Our pride in our background. Yeah. And we don't have that right now. It's considered a negative thing by so much of society.
By some people, yeah.
And I think it also hurts us because in many ways it allows us to not respect other people because we don't know that they have the same values or the same upbringing or the same knowledge.
Right, exactly.
Right? If you're talking to someone and you have no idea of anything in their background, you're going to be on eggshells talking to them.
Yeah, right.
Right. Whereas if I know where you lived, where you went to school, what your job was, what company you worked for, all of these pieces of information give me some context as to what kind of a person you are in the background. So then I can then get to a point where you and I are communicating much better, much more quickly.
Yeah. The thing is though, Chris, that's just tribalism. That's just how humans behave. And you'll see it. So if you want to get a group of people together to join and connect, because invariably they'll form into their own subgroups, you need to create an external enemy to rally people around. But even I know David Marquet, he was a submarine captain. I spent time working with him for a couple of years. He would say that even inside the submarine, then you have different groups. You'd have operations, you'd have the cooks, you'd have this. And the thing that he was always watching for, the thing that just irritated him, in fact, he commanded people not to say certain words, actually. It is so funny, because I was talking to him one time, and he goes, it would scare you how much power a captain has. I mean, literally, I can lock them up in jail. Literally, if I want to, I can, strip rank for them. And it takes them years to recover from that. I can give them only bread and water for 3 days. He goes, I'm the closest thing to God inside this little tube that they're going to experience, actually. And so the captain has tremendous amounts of power. So he would have them forcefully change language because he said a lot of times, if I ever heard the word they, he goes, I got nervous, actually. Because what do you mean they? Those guys? You mean the guy that sleeps 20 feet from you? Them? Inside the same tube underwater? It's there's no they. There's only us. Right? And so he would force them to use the word us, not not them.
But I mean, so in that mindset, you need to give them a shared enemy, right? So isn't that part of what like the role of the drill sergeant is in boot camp?
Yeah,
He's the guy
enemy.
that they can all get upset with.
Yeah.
Until they get built up to a point where then they understand what's being done to
He
them,
knows
right?
exactly what he's doing, and they do it intentionally.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's like I can make these grab-ass pieces of amoeba shit, slime, into a cohesive group that's going to fight, and I'm going to force that, you know?
So when the aliens come to invade the planet from Mars or whatever, then we'll have an external threat, and we'll all come together and we'll sing
Yep.
kumbaya.
Yep. Did you see?
What was that?
Yeah, did you see the show Reacher? Did you ever watch Reacher or whatever like that?
Yep.
Remember he was like trying to get his people together and they were bickering and fighting.
Oh, he took him to the bar.
Yeah, he took him to the bar and he's gonna fight. I'm like, there you go. It's like, you know,
He could fight with everyone else. Yes.
he understood the psychology, right?
But no, so one of the things, I've always thought that's the case, right? The best way to bring people together is to give them an external threat.
Yeah.
And yet that did not work with COVID.
Because COVID was a different thing because it was too big of an external threat. And
no, I mean, alien invasion and wiping out the human race, that's a good external threat.
no, but let me change that back. I want to retract that and put different words in.
Okay.
People didn't believe that it was the threat that it was. Other people thought, oh my God, this
why
thing's gonna kill everyone.
didn't they believe it was a threat?
Well, I don't know why they didn't
because
believe.
the leaders of the world couldn't agree on a message to give us sheep to follow, and so we got mixed messaging.
Well, it's not just
our
that.
president at the time did not want to do a lot of the things that I don't know if they would have helped at the long run, but he didn't like it. He thought it was going to go away in weeks. He thought it would be a short term everything, right?
Yeah.
And because he's big on marketing and spin and giving the viewpoint he wants to go out there.
Yeah.
The problem is the viewpoint you want when it comes up against reality doesn't always work. And he's not good at accepting reality because he's so good at selling an idea to the point where everyone believes it.
Well,
and the problem here is that reality was coming along saying, no, you can't, and so what happened was we had 3 months of messaging saying everything's going to be fine, everything's going to be fine, everything's going to be fine from the leader of the free world. And then you had everyone else saying, no, it's not going to be.
Yeah.
So you had a split. So I could now choose either side and feel I had a defensive position.
Yeah.
So regardless of whether it was right or wrong, if everyone in the power structure had said, we're doing it this way because this is the right way, and we all got to pull together and blah, 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 that we would have had a totally different experience in what happened. I'm not going to say it was better. I'm not going to say it was worse. I will. I do think more people died than needed to. That at the end of the day, yes.
Yeah, right.
Now, the idea here, though, is that had it been a different leader who would have caved to the science community or maybe the pseudoscience community, depending on how you view it, it would have been a totally different scenario. You would have still had the naysayers, but they wouldn't have had the voice and the confidence to be able to speak out as loudly as they did because they wouldn't have had such a powerful leader representing their opinion.
Well, I mean, there's no doubt there's some amount to that, but Chris, the other amount is that people just saw it. There were so many people that got COVID, and it was just like a bad cold for them. And a week later, they're just back and they're done and they're fine. And they're like, wait a minute, this is not going to kill everybody. I mean, let me tell you something. If something like an Ebola came, that would have been a different scenario, right?
So what is it? How many millions of Americans died? 1 million, 3 million? What's the number? So that's not a big deal?
I mean, I would say it's a big deal, but typically the people who died were at the edge cases, the weak, the extreme, the old, the people that had multiple different conditions, diabetes and this. So it's like the perceived risk of it wasn't as bad as they were selling, actually. But you remember at the beginning, everybody was locking down because they were like afraid of it.
I mean, if we look at, is it Sweden that didn't do the lockdowns and they ended up with a lot more deaths percentage-wise?
Yeah.
So the issue is, if we didn't lock down, how many more people would have died? I don't know. And anyone who doesn't want to accept that the lockdown actually served a purpose would probably say no more people, or maybe fewer people would have died, which I don't agree with. I really think that making sure that people couldn't get sick so that they couldn't get weaker people sick, right? So kids getting sick in school was the purpose was so they wouldn't go home and make grandma sick. Was the idea, right? And of course, now we're suffering from the fact that the kids lost a year of school or 2 years of school, depending on where you were in the world.
Yeah.
But I think the idea here is we had a split. Instead of coming together with this external threat, which is normally what I was seeing, is our leadership was split, openly split, and because of that, it gave everyone the ammunition to say whatever they wanted to say, and so we didn't come together. In fact, I think it drove us further.
Well, yeah, I'll agree with the leadership thing, but I don't think that's 100% of it. I think people were observing that, wait a minute, this thing is not as deadly as everybody's making it out to be either, right?
When?
The whole time because people are getting sick with COVID and they're just recovering and they're like, well, wait a minute, this is not killing everybody. It's like, I understand we need to protect, grandma and older people, but
what is the number you think it needs to be before it becomes a big threat? I mean, what was the percentage of people that died from Spanish flu?
Oh, I think of way more, I believe, actually, percentage. I don't know. I can find, let's all go research.
Yeah, let's look it up to see, because, if we're talking 5% of the population, if 1 out of every 20 people dies, is that bad? Versus, I mean, what is the threshold at which it becomes a bad thing?
Yeah, that's a good question. And just the first thing in my head is like 30 to 40% death. Well, it's all bad, but I mean, it depends on what.
I thought it was 50 million people at the time.
Hang on, 60. How do I ask this to chat? So it's like, compare to other plague history. Let's just see what it's going to tell me. So estimated, hang on, a global reach worldwide note. Oh yeah, the other ones were significantly worse. So COVID-19, if you're looking it up, estimated deaths out of 2025, 7 million confirmed people. 7 million, right? Black Death, estimated deaths were 75 to 200 million. So significant. And it had way less people. Spanish flu, 40 to 50 million. Let me break this down. Break this down as a percentage of population. Hang on a second. Oh, yeah. COVID's like barely on the radar compared to these other things. So I'm seeing COVID-19 is as a percentage of global population killed, like 0.09% to 0.25% on the high side. Or if you look at something like the Black Death, that's 17 to 44%.
Yeah, Black Death is a little bit way past our historical event horizon, I think. I think the closest thing we would have would be the Spanish flu.
That's 2.2 to 5.6% is what I'm seeing.
Yeah, so you're talking about percentage rate up, right?
Yeah.
But that is with, actually at the time we didn't do much to stop it and it got up to that rate. Right. Whereas in COVID, there was a lot of stuff to try to stop it. There was the lockdown, there was vaccinations, there was a bunch of other crap that happened, and it was it 0.01%? Is that what you got? One in a 1,000 people
for
died,
COVID?
right?
Yeah, 0.09% to.
I think it's 0.1% is the number I'm seeing here. 7 million out of 7 billion, right? So.
But I'm saying, though, Chris, is what I'm saying, the other stuff was like more than a 10x increase in it. So
yes, but now let's think about it.
Yeah.
When did they know what the death rate was? They didn't have media the way we have today. They didn't have instantaneous statistics. They didn't have any of that sort of thing, right? So with all of that in place, they didn't have a sense that it was as bad as it was when it was going on.
Yeah, those are not calculated in, but that's why I made the claim that early on people were much more compliant because they didn't really understand how risky is this thing. They didn't know, right? It's just like an Ebola that killed.
Admittedly, I mean, the sheer fact that some of the stuff that was done to stop it in the beginning was crazy, and some of the stuff that we didn't do, we should have done, is also crazy, right?
Yeah.
So,
and then what you started to find, what people started to realize was that, well, wait a minute, okay, yeah, it's bad, yeah, it kills older people, and yeah, it kills at-risk people, actually. But for the average person, They just get a bad flu or sickness for 3 or 4 or 5 weeks and they recover, and it's not a horrible thing. It's not that bad actually. Then you start taking that data, what was spoken, and then here's the real kicker, right? Is now people started to say, well, wait a minute, they're just trying to control me. And when people feel controlled, they push back against that.
And see, and that's the part that I find to be crazy, right? Because I had COVID early on. I didn't even realize I had it until later when my wife got sick and we did the testing and we found out she'd had it. And I realized, oh, the timing of my sickness, I probably had it too.
Yeah.
And I had flu symptoms for 2 days. That's it. Mm-hmm. Right. So the disconnect in my mind was that I was not getting anywhere near as sick as, and I have, comorbidities or what do they call them that would, but I'm like, wait, that's all I felt. So I don't know. The news that the information I was getting off the news did not relate to my personal experience.
Right, that's what I'm saying. Exactly, right?
Yeah. I didn't go and think, though, that they're trying to control me. That would never even occurred to me. What occurred to me was they don't know what the hell they're doing, and they're making guesses left and right, and they feel like they have to do something. So here they're saying, do these things.
Well, yeah, but Chris, you're not as emotionally...
No, I'm sane and rational, and I am the perfect human when it comes to thinking, of course. But that's...
Of course. I mean, why are we even discussing this? We're just wasting time now.
No, but see, but this is the problem. This is the way mankind is. And so knowing that this is the way people are going to react, if leadership shows a split or a schism in the way they think, then it's going to reflect poorly on the children, and the population is the children.
Oh, I agree. And, I'm not arguing. I'm saying that's not everything to it. There's more facts.
So my thought here is, if leadership had been all in on this one way or the other, I don't care which direction it is, I think we would be in a better place today as far as the polarity of where our populace is. I actually think the reason why we're so far left and right in our population was driven, the wedge was driven in further by the way the pandemic played out.
Yeah, hang on. I'm going to break these down in percentages. Hang on. I'm asking this question.
What question are you asking?
The reasons why people are resistant to it. And I want to give the percentages or weighting of each reason. Oh, here it goes. Yeah, this makes sense, actually. See, this makes sense. There's 8 reasons it's listing. The top one why people that were pushing back against it, resistance, was 25 to 35%. This is estimated from chat, so who knows if this is right or not. But economic survival and job insecurity. That was like at least a quarter of the people, a little bit more actually.
Pushing back on what? Sorry.
Pushing against on the resistance against the lockdowns.
Okay, so lockdowns is a very specific thing you're asking about.
Yeah, right.
So I'm not sure the lockdown was the right thing to do. I understand why it was chosen, and I think the lockdown actually, with the lockdown and with the schism in leadership about the lockdown, you ended up giving people a lot of credence in saying in arguing it. I also think it's what caused the government to print more money, which caused a different problem for us downstream. Yeah. So there's all these things that occurred, but at the end of the day. I don't know that the lockdown was needed, at least in the way it played out.
Well, that's good. I'm just giving you the data that chat's given me. So
so had the lockdown not occurred, and we had come up with other ways to treat this, right? I'm not sure that I don't know where that problem or that reason for resistance would be.
Hang on a second. Let me see. Let's see if chat knows, or if it thinks it. So it's saying that if we didn't do the lockdown, let me just read this. But they're saying that infection and death rate would have skyrocketed.
Yep.
Without lockdowns, transmissions rates, they call it R0, would remain at greater than 2.5%. So what that means, I believe, is if one person gets it, how many people are they going to transfer it to? Which is, so one person to transfer to 2.5. When it drops down below number, it's going to die out. whatever, an R number of higher than 1 means it's going to start spreading. Okay, there we go. Health system collapse. The economy still tanks, but differently. Mental health may be better short term, worse long term. Schools and public events. So yeah, it's easy to Monday morning quarterback, but I still don't think they didn't really fully understand the impact of this, right? How dangerous this was.
I don't think they cared about it because most people don't think about second and third order consequences of their decisions, right? And maybe even if they do consider the second and third order consequences, they just don't rise to the level of overcoming we're going to save X millions of lives, right? I mean, at the end of the day, that's an argument to be made. But I think the argument here is you were saying that the lockdown saved lives because people didn't get sick, right? It's hard to prove a negative, but.
Hey, I'm just looking at this, right? I'm looking at Sweden because they chat calls it they had a lighter touch approach for the lockdown.
Yep.
The chat's just saying, and this is just chat's recommendation. They walked the middle path, not a full lockdown, but not a full denier either. They were mixed, but not catastrophic. So, yeah, this is a hard thing, Chris, because then you start talking like you're always like to bring up second and third order consequences. I don't know that we could ever fully know what the difference would be.
So one of the things that no one will address because it's a third rail for conversation is what is a one life worth? Is it okay to have legislation on drugs, on vaccines, on whatever to save one life in America?
Well, insurance companies.
Is it okay to require whole industries to spend billions and billions of dollars to do something? Is it okay to put in laws that then have to be enforced, and then we have to have a legal system that goes and tries people, all to save one life? What is the threshold at which it becomes cost effective? And no one's going to talk about that because life is invaluable, right? And yet, no, there's still an ROI on everything. And it's something you can't talk about because it makes you sound like you're degrading life to a dollar amount, which you are in essence, right?
You're comparing life to a dollar amount. That's life insurance. That's all they do.
That's what an actuarial table. And actually, the government does it too.
Yeah.
When I looked into this, and I did do a deep dive on this a couple years ago, right now it's about $13 million in the U.S. for a human life.
Okay.
Roughly, it goes up and down with age and other things.
What is that based upon their lifetime work, thing and
So $13 million is the average, and you can look it up these actuarial tables. Yeah. I forgot which office of the government does this, and they don't openly talk about this, but I was able to find information on it. So $13 million.
Yeah.
So basically, something has to cost less than $13 million to make it cost effective for one life.
Yeah. Well,
so if you're saving 100 lives, that would be what? $130 million.
Well, no. Because that's assuming across the whole life. So if you're 75 years old, you're worth less than a baby, right?
Yes. No, babies actually aren't worth that much. It's because babies can't survive on their own either. So there's other qualifiers, but
right?
Yes.
They've got future. They've got future value.
But basically, the average human's life, and I think they use 25 as the average age that they work off of. But the point being, 13 million. Rough. I have to go back and look at my numbers to get specifics, but that's roughly what I remember. So, but no, if you think about it, you save 100 lives.
Yeah.
And you say, okay, it's 100 times 13 million, so what is it? 130 million.
Yeah. I mean that's somewhat reasonable.
Wait, that's wrong. Right, not 13 million. 1.3 billion, right? So
I mean,
whatever.
If you think a human life is just, if you can boil it down to just a number, a financial number, I mean, I think people's lives are potentially worth more than that,
Yeah, well, sure, potentially, but if you need a number to work off,
I know, but you got to boil down to a number. I get it.
I mean, there are individuals who will be worth hundreds of billions of dollars
right.
in that pool,
Yeah.
right? But
But
I
it's an
can't
average. It's an
I
average, yeah.
can't calculate that out. I need a number. So I guess when it comes down to it, what is that? And you can't talk about that. So if we look at the lockdown and the amount of physical damage it caused to people,
Yeah.
and the amount of emotional damage, and the amount of developmental damage, and mental damage, and all that stuff that it causes, what was the dollar amount that we saved by lockdown versus the number of lives we saved?
I don't know.
I've never seen an analysis of that. I
Yeah.
wonder if anyone's even bothered to do that.
I don't know.
Because I'm sure it would get attacked from one side or the other if you tried that.
Of course.
Right? And so if you want to try to look at the decision to lock down objectively, that to me is the kind of analysis that needs to be done.
Yeah.
Objectively, was it the right thing to do?
Yeah, right.
Yeah. Personally, I kind of think it was, but I can't defend that because I don't know the numbers.
Well, but see, this depends on the personality type, right? So my personality type, right, is I bias my freedom versus more than my safety. So I would much rather die earlier, but knowing I'm in control, or at least I have more influence, than living longer and being controlled. That's just my personal bias.
Yeah, and Scott, that's not the job of government to protect you individually. It's to protect society as a whole.
I understand,
and so
but
screw the individual in this situation. I'm going to say this outright. Screw the individual in this situation. The survival of the species is what's important. So in that condition, with my number one outcome from this being to save as many people as I possibly can, I need to make a decision. And that to me is our first order consequence. Then you have the second and third order consequence. So I understand your viewpoint, and I agree with your viewpoint. I'm kind of of the viewpoint, let them die. You don't want to wear a seatbelt, don't wear a seatbelt when you die in the crash. You are responsible for yourself. Yeah. I will be responsible for myself. And in a situation where we don't have a lockdown, I will make sure to protect my family by sanitizing everything, whatever the hell.
Whatever. You're going to take care of yourself. But let me tell you why
that's my personal viewpoint. Yeah. That's not my societal viewpoint. Okay, my societal viewpoint is it's the job of government to protect the people, not the person.
As a general rule. Yeah, exactly. But I'm going to tell you why you're wrong, actually, right?
Mm-hmm. Go ahead.
Maybe not what you're wrong. Maybe just what you're. I'm trying to be nicer, right, Chris? I'm trying to be nicer. But let me tell you what I think you're over.
Keep trying, Scott. Keep trying.
Oh, trust me, I'm going to keep trying. I'll keep swinging until I connect. You know me. So anyways, here's what I personally think, Chris. If you just want to optimize the species, right? In that particular case, then, a good concept is let this come through. Let's wipe out the weak. And then the strong, just like trim a tree. It's the same thing. Man, it is brutal. It sucks. But if you're doing just the species optimization, that's probably the right answer, right?
That's what went through my mind, and the whole idea of herd immunity and all that kind of stuff goes with this idea that enough people will survive to continue the species and whatever, right? We'll continue on. I think the problem we have is our social structures cannot absorb as much damage as they used to.
Yeah, right.
And what I'll do is I'll look at like military campaigns from hundreds of years ago, where a military unit could suffer 30-40% losses and still be in combat, still be considered combat effective. Yeah, right. Today, you lose 5% and your whole unit's out of action. Right?
Well, yeah.
And so conceptually, we don't accept the same type of damage to ourselves as we used to.
Yeah, right.
And so as a society, I'm not sure that we can accept that kind of a death rate anymore. Although there's a fair argument to be made, just we'll kill off the people, and whoever survives will have a immunity or natural resistance to COVID.
Yeah, right, and it's stronger for. Okay, let's take this down to something more personal, actually, because I'm getting bored of this conversation. Because we just talked about it's just so high in the sky, it doesn't mean anything, right?
So, that's the engineer in you coming through. I have no problem keeping pie in the sky.
Okay, let's forget pie, because we're not supposed to have pie, right, for the next 75 days at least. So.
Oh yeah.
So let's go back to Toastmasters. So I've been wreaking havoc in Toastmasters with some of my comments lately.
I don't know why people get so tweaked by your comments.
It's just. And it's interesting. And the funny thing is many people agree with me, and I sort of like spark. Some people are like telling me I'm insulted by your comment. And then I see other people getting sort of like energized by it and whatever. Like Janmar saying, well, yeah, maybe we are getting a little soft. Maybe we do need to sort of pick it up a little bit, Clement, of all people, today, he's like, let's just do something. Somebody just do something.
Well, I mean, okay, so this is where our leader wasn't for the day wasn't there,
Yeah,
right?
right.
And as with any organization, it takes a moment for the rest of us to kind of adapt to that.
Yeah, and
And yeah,
we're
no,
adaptable. Yeah, exactly. So this is what I thought. This is a brutal approach that I was thinking about. What just happened? Oh, there I am. Wow.
yeah, what
Something,
happened there, Scott?
I don't know. I just like had a glitch or something like that. Um, let's just let's run through this scenario, right?
Sure.
Oh, there's something happened to my internet, I think.
Hey, Scott, can we take a quick bio break?
Yeah, let's do it. Sure.
Refilled my water bottle.
Okay, awesome. So let's just do a thought experiment, right?
Sure.
So let's say the outcome of this goal is to build the best challengers Toastmasters club in the country, right?
Okay.
That's the end goal. And let's say we got a year to do it. So this would be my thought. Kind of brutal. I mean, we could kind of keep doing what we're doing, and we'd end up in the exact same place we are in a year from now as we are. Basically, I don't think we're any better than we were 5 years ago, the challengers, right? We're pretty much the same thing. That's kind of my premise going in. So how much or much not do you disagree with that?
Generally, yeah.
Generally, okay. So I mean, it could be a little bit, but just as it's not significantly better than it was. And it's harder to get better because we're a pretty darn good functioning club, right? I
I
don't know
will
if we're
say,
the best club.
so given the fact that I was there when we went from in person to online,
Yeah,
and I drove most of that activity myself.
yeah.
I put our stuff online. I set up the Zoom accounts. I created all that stuff. I put a lot of our scheduling online, all that sort of thing.
Mm-hmm.
And I had to fight tooth and nail to get anyone to make change at the time.
Mm-hmm.
I will actually say overall, no, we are better off operationally than we were in the past. We've gotten
Okay.
to a point where individually the people who run the club aren't doing the level of work I did to get it in place, but we raised our systems to be better than they were before. So our systems we have in place are giving us the results we have now.
Yeah, but we had to do new systems because the environment changed, right?
Yeah, but given the fact that you know how the average person is not inclined to think in systems, is not inclined to follow rules, is
Yeah.
not inclined all of that stuff, we had to overcome all of that and we put into play a system that actually has survived pretty well
Yeah,
given the
yeah. No, I
fact
got that. I know that,
yeah.
but we're not better off than we were meeting in person, is what I'm saying.
Oh no.
We're about the same.
Yeah, you want to know the overall quality of how the club's running? I think it's slightly better in operational than it used to
Okay.
be.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
as far as overall output and overall how we score nationally, none of that's gotten better.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, that doesn't in any way discourage because I was the president at the time. I remember I was so
Oh
happy
yeah,
you
yeah,
were
yeah.
like doing all that work, right? So I'm like, thank you, thank you, thank you, right?
Yeah,
Um,
I remember that. Yeah.
but so what happened is though,
Everyone forgets you were president of that club.
yeah, I don't know why actually. I mean, I was pissing everybody off, I think. So, but whatever. So that's my point. So now let's do a thought experiment of that. We're gonna take it where we are maybe the number one, but certainly in the top handful in the entire country. My thought in order to do that, one approach would be is let's trim the tree and let's basically get rid of half the people in the club and only pick the absolute strongest actually and
Yeah.
form that and work our systems and man, just get it dialed in solid actually.
Mm-hmm.
And then I think what that would do is that now we become much more exclusive. We
Yeah.
intentionally, through marketing, define ourselves as we're black label, we're high tier, and we only allow the very best to come in. And in fact, we have both a waiting period and a qualification. You don't just come to the club, you get invited to the club. And there's like a 3-month probationary period, even for the most elite people. This is like what the really wealthy do, right? So to get in, it's like a challenge. Now that's going to position us different.
Oh
We're going
yeah.
to piss a lot of people off. We're going to get a lot of pushback on it, how horrible we are and how bad we are and everything. But in this case, I'm not optimizing for an individual. I'm optimizing for the club long term, actually. What that will do, though, is it'll start attracting a different group of people because they're like, ooh, I like that. I don't like the fact this is exclusive. I don't like the fact that I've got to work to get into this club. And I think in a year to 2 years, we would be an exceptional club at that point. I don't know that
we might not even qualify anymore.
No, we may be gone. And you know what? We should be gone. If we're not able to operate at that level, we should be gone, right?
Mm-hmm.
And it's scary because you're thinking, if I want to up the thing, it's like, but another capability, Chris, is we might be better. That may force us to get better, right? So long term, even though it's painful, we might be better off because of that, if we can make the cut.
So I don't know if they still have this policy, but GE used to have a policy where they would fire the bottom 10% of their performers every year.
Not about. Can you go? I'm having trouble.
Oh, sorry, I'm pretty far away.
There you go.
So
there,
GE had a policy where they would fire the bottom 10% of their company performers every year.
Not bad.
They were always hiring, but they were always firing.
Yeah,
and the idea was you cull the bottom 10% every year.
Yeah.
And they could be good performers in any other company, but they weren't.
Good.
Yeah, in your company, they were not in the top 90%, so they got cut out.
Yeah. Right.
And it's very cutthroat. It sounds very mean and horrible for the organization.
Yes.
And for those who are left in the organization, it produces a very high quality of environment and output.
And for the customers and the stakeholders and the stock part and right? Yeah.
Now, so the problem with that is, given the world we're in today and kind of the way we view we should take care of everyone deserves a chance, and that sort of thing, it feels like it goes against that, right? Because it's basically it's egalitarian. Is that the word I want? Where it's about the capabilities of the person, and if you're not good enough, then you don't get as much, right?
Well, yeah, but here's the thing, Chris, and that's fine. But maybe you go to this other Toastmasters group, and in 5 years, then maybe you can come and apply for, play with the big boys. I mean, there's nothing wrong with that.
Mm-hmm.
There's an ascension ladder. I mean, this is how Navy SEALs select. I mean, first of all, they only want people coming in the top funnel that want it really bad. And they just punish you, and they do it the opposite. They kill the bottom 90% and only keep the top 10%.
Yeah, it's a faster culling process.
Yeah, it's a faster culling process. And then even in the Navy SEALs, those are just the average. Those are tier 2 guys, right? I mean, they're amazing. But if you want to go to tier 1, SEAL Team 6, now they only take maybe the top 1 or 2% of those other groups, actually. And those people are they're just freaks.
Well, this is why sporting events are incredible. Like when you watch a track and field event.
Yeah.
You got 3 people get medals. One of them is the absolute winner.
Yeah.
Right. And so immediately that person's the best.
Yeah, absolutely, right? Yeah. Now, on that day, tomorrow it may be a different outcome.
But that's all that matters, is on the day that it mattered, you scored the best, right?
Yeah.
So what are you solving for? So you established that you wanted to be the best club, and that was the goal.
Yeah, right.
And that's where I think there's a distinction between what you're saying and what the actual club does, right? The club wants to be, President's Distinguished. It wants to get 9 or 10 points out of the possible 10 points every year to qualify for that. But this is one of those things that every club can qualify for.
Yeah.
And they won't, because some people just won't put in the effort. But at the end of the day, it's one of those goals that everyone can get a gold medal if they try just a little bit.
Yeah,
right. And I think so. This is more like an everyone can win in this scenario type of a world, versus where if you start culling people, it's like, no, there are no others. We are going to win. We are going to be the best. We're gonna, right. And so there's a shift in mindset there, and the goal has to be represented, and everyone has to believe in it. And then the value structure comes from the fact that we are elite and we have a high qualification bar to be elite.
Yes, right, exactly.
But then again, so this is the thing, is you up your game, right? So part of me believes that every person has the potential to do so much more than they do in real life.
Absolutely, 100%.
They have so much potential if they had the right systems, if they had the right training, if they had the right mindset, if they had the blank, the list goes on and on and on.
And the right people around them, and right
everyone could be. Wouldn't it be neat if we lived in a world where we were all super exceptional, and then the variances were at the super exceptional level, instead of like an idiot and a smart person? It was like a smart person and a really smart person, right? Wouldn't it it'd be a great world if that were the case.
Yeah, think about that just for a second. Imagine you got an Elon Musk a Bill Gates, Einstein. I mean, like these
And
are
that's
like,
the average. And that's the average person in the world, right? Yeah.
Holy crapola,
Yeah, think about what the world could accomplish. I mean, think about
Yeah.
the second order consequences of the egos too. But that's,
Oh,
I mean,
plenty of egos going around.
but yeah. So now I'm going to change the question. How can we build a club where we get to that level and we bring everyone with us? We don't cull to get to that level of elitism and capability, but we build a club that gets to that level of elitism and
I don't think
quality.
we can. I don't think we can. Just some certain people are not going to come
If
along.
we start with a belief that everyone can be a lot more, can we build systems? Can we build processes? Can we build a what is it when a work ethic, a belief, an obligation to others
Right.
in the group? That so one of the complaints that Jamar said was 2 of our last 3 Toastmasters bailed on us.
Yeah, and they will do that because we
Right.
allow it.
So for that week, they bailed on us without communication too.
Yeah,
It isn't
yeah,
like, oh crap, I can't make it today. Can someone else step in? I apologize.
yeah,
That it wasn't like that, which is what you would normally expect. Things happen in life. We
yeah,
know
right.
that.
Yeah,
So I think so he brought up the point is we should not be allowing this. And so basically
100%.
that is not an acceptable behavior. We need to
Correct. They
call it
should
out.
be. I would think they should be kicked out of the club. That's unacceptable.
Yeah, okay.
One. Because if
Yeah,
but here's the thing. Because if you do one, it's brutal, but everybody like, oh shit, I can't get away with that. Now everybody's like, that's okay. Then nobody, it's fine.
So, okay, I'm going to go on a quick tangent. Someone was talking
Yeah.
about capital punishment. People being given the death sentence.
Yeah.
And the argument they were saying was, if you're going to live in a country that allows the death sentence, it should be televised. Because what's the use of killing people if the people don't realize they can be killed for doing bad things, right? The idea, the whole argument for capital punishment is it's the ultimate punishment, and so that's how one of the ways we let people know they can't do certain crimes.
Yeah, right.
Which makes perfect sense, but if it's not a publicized event, then really it doesn't really have the same impact. It was an interesting argument to make, but that's the thing here, is right? There is what are the consequences of your actions? We have a code of conduct we expect you to follow. If you don't follow it, there are repercussions, and if we never fulfill those repercussions, then people will just get, they'll do what they want, right? And I get that point. So, but the point is, can we raise our systems and expectations to a point where people do deliver more?
Yes, it's possible. Yeah, exactly.
Right? I think it's possible. I think it's hard, and I think in something like the size of our society, it's extremely hard. But I think it's worth considering. How would we do that?
Yeah, I think. Well, and step number one is you got to get strong leadership, right?
You need to get strong leadership that isn't yelling at each other and not saying the other side's the enemy and blah 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 blah, which seems to be the main thing that's going on right now, right?
Oh, what's going on right now? The other side's the enemy.
Yeah, I mean, so the left and the right, the Democrats and the Republicans. Now, I'm not talking about in our club.
Oh no, can we say just on the club? I don't want to move out. I want to talk about just our club.
Oh no, I don't think it's a problem with that. I think
right. I don't because I didn't see that either.
I think our leadership's pretty good overall, but one of the things is, what is your expectation for the amount of effort someone puts in as an officer?
Are we on the club now, or are you?
Yeah,
I almost took on that.
What is your expectation of the level of effort someone puts in as an officer of the club?
Well, I mean, I get the fact that it's a volunteer organization, and so the argument is these people are non-paid; they're volunteers, and I'm like, okay, fair enough. But
does that mean any level of effort they put in is enough?
No. But I'm going to push back on that, and I'm going to say that from what I understand, and the numbers I think will bear me out if I actually did the research, is that in volunteer organizations, that's typically where you get the highest performance of people. It doesn't matter if they're paid or not.
On average, or that the highest performers are there, but you also have the lowest performers there.
Well, yeah, okay, yeah, but typically that draws in the highest performers basically because of cause. It's like they're doing it for a why, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
So what I see is And I've got to accommodate the fact that different people have different skills and knowledge, so how they
Yeah.
apply that, right? But how much time are they putting into something? How disciplined are they in getting it done at a certain time? How rigorous are they at making sure it gets done right? Right? What are the obligations they feel towards other members of the club?
Yeah, right, right. Well, not some of the members, not very much at all.
Right. Well, just like the concept, today that we had a hot seat, right? And
Yeah.
and Jamar was ready to speak, and I wanted to speak.
Yeah.
And last time he beat me to the punch, and he volunteered. But I've now made it my personal goal. If there's a hot seat and no one else wants it, I'm going to take it.
Yeah, yeah.
So,
But you know what that does to me, though? I'll tell you what that does to me when I see that. Because I'm like, I don't want to do it because I don't want to speak because I don't want to do this. But what it does to me is like, what's happened today? I'm like, literally in my mind, I'm thinking, oh crap, I need to step my game up because these people are better than me, and my ego says I don't want to be left behind. I want to hang out with the big boys, right? So I need to.
well,
like,
and isn't that the idea? Because you want to surround yourself with a group, a mastermind group, or whatever group that is operating at a level you want to be at, right? So
if you want to get better, I'm going to change the tennis for a second. You should be playing with people just a little bit, but not too much because then you always lose. But just a little bit, where man, you gotta bring it.
My thought here is this is the club who's designed to work on public speaking.
Yes.
If there's a speaking role and no one wants to take it, then what the hell are we there for?
Well, yeah, it's that in leadership. Yeah, right. That's the whole idea.
Well,
yeah.
leadership to me is something they added to make it more appealing. And yes, there's leadership, but I think public speaking to me is still the number one thing I'm learning there.
Yeah.
But so one of the things I realized is I need to be in a mindset that I will step up and fill a speaking role if it's available.
Yeah. I think you're right, actually. And here's the thing: I'm going to point it back to me. Is I've been there for I don't know how many years. I haven't gotten any significantly better at anything. I mean, most of my speeches I prepare the night before. I kind of wing it. I don't really practice that much.
But some of your most fun responses are your table topics, where you're just on the cuff saying things.
Yes, but I don't get any better. It's like I can do that the same as I did 5 years ago. Ideally, it's like I should be getting better at doing that.
So that's a different thing. You need to figure out, okay, my challenge is in extemporaneous speaking, I'm going to get better.
I'm going to get better.
So what are some things I can try to get better? I'm going to follow the structure, right? I'm going to follow here's my intro. This is what I'm going to cover. Here's my body. Here's what I'm covering. Here's my clothes. Here's what I cover, right?
That's not the problem. The problem is desire. The problem is I don't want it bad enough. I
know. But no. The other thing I'm thinking is, so then what's the next goal? I want to connect to the audience. I want them to have a memorable thing that comes out of this. I want to give a table topic response that they will remember in 3 years because it connected at some level.
No, that's not what I care about. You know what I care about?
Well, that's not what you care about, but I'm saying that's the way you can challenge yourself.
Here's how I'm going to challenge myself.
Set yourself goals like that. Go ahead.
No, I don't care about those goals. Here's what I care about. I care about if you and I speak together, I'm going to beat you every single time. That's what drives me.
How are you going to make that into a table topic, though?
Well, I don't know. Well, because I win. Because I want to win table topic.
So you want the votes. So you want the votes in table topic so you can win table topic and lord it over everyone else who didn't win table topics, right?
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah,
so then again, we go back to how do you make that happen? You're memorable. You connect. You show vulnerability. All the things that I just said. The only focus here is instead of getting better at it to get better at it, you want to get better at it to win.
Correct. Yeah, that's just my goofed up mind logic. So
you know that the whole speech I did today, right, which was based upon that article I wrote on LinkedIn a few weeks ago.
Yeah.
Right. And I gave that whole speech talking about having dinner at Thanksgiving and all that kind of stuff. And
that was a good speech, Chris. I actually really liked it. I think I even said something nice to you in it. I can't believe I did that.
None of that ever happened, by the way. That
doesn't matter.
But and I had to get comfortable with being able to tell a story that wasn't my story to tell, but got my point across.
Yeah, it was great. Right? I didn't question you for a second. I thought it was a great story. It was totally believable. I'm like, yeah, I could see that happening. You know?
Well, and so one of the things, I've been using AI to write a lot, right? So what I'll do is I'll come up with an idea. I had this idea. Everyone's logical, and the only reason why someone has a different opinion is because they're not using the same information you are.
Yeah, that's crazy. Yeah.
So I took that idea and I said, okay, what does that mean? Well, how can I say everyone's the same? Well, we're all biochemically the same. All
Yeah,
right. So we have the same, we're all driving the same car or whatever, right? Whatever it is. And I started to say, okay, now I need a hook. What's a good hook? And then it offered this thing, and I said, okay, I'll use that.
yeah, yeah.
I now have a dozen speeches ready to go.
See, that's awesome. So here's my thing. So this is what you did, right? You actually did a good job. And this is why I really hate the
I
compliment.
actually did a good job. Yes.
Yeah, I know. And it's like, I think in my conference, I think I actually said something nice to you in my little.
Yeah, you did. You did. Mhm.
Which is like just so, well, it's like, what's going on with me? I'm getting weak in my old age or something like that. But I'll tell you, Chris, first of all, when you said that, I think this is the dumbest freaking idea I've ever heard in my life, right? That was my first thing. But at the end of your speech, I'm like, I mean, I don't think it's a good idea, but I'm raising it above dumb. I went from dumb to neutral on it, and even thinking like, maybe you have something there. Maybe.
I think a big part of this is I love the term steel manning.
Yeah.
We use straw mans a lot. We use ad hominem attacks and all the different types of attacks on each other. And it's like your focus is to win. So you see them as tools on how to win.
Yes, right. Mm-hmm.
I don't see them as tools on how to win. I see them as tools on how to discuss, debate, and come to a furthering of our understanding.
So you can win, right?
Not to win.
You want to win it.
No.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
No. I consider it if we can get closer in our thinking to each other, then we're better off.
Then that's a win for you. That's what you define.
And that might mean I moved more towards your thinking. It's unlikely it's unlikely because I'm usually right, but that's.
But I mean, I think that's the right thing to do. At least right? you're going in the right direction.
Or I bring them to my thinking, which I'm hoping is what happens, because I actually do think that I'm probably more rigorous in my thinking and probably right. Yeah. Or we both move a little bit.
Yeah, right.
Right. And at the end, we may not agree, but if we're a little bit closer, we've made progress.
Yeah, right. Yeah. Yeah, I think that's good.
So my whole purpose of steel manning is to be able to communicate with someone in a way where they're not feeling like I'm attacking them. Because as soon as you straw man someone, you're attacking them. As soon as you generalize what they're saying, you're attacking them. As soon as you do an ad hominem attack, you're attacking them.
Yeah.
Right? And I think that is antithetical to what you're trying to accomplish in a discussion. Argument's a different thing. Discussion and argument, right? Two different things.
But I think what you're doing there, Chris, is you're building that technique on steel manning. In fact, I even said that I was surprised you brought that up because I think you're stealing my ideas. Maybe you had it originally. I don't know.
Which one?
But I always tied that into Stephen Covey's seek first, understand, and then be understood. And what you're doing is that's a tactic to implement that concept.
Yes.
Which is beautiful. Yes.
I mean, the ultimate goal is for you to come to a closer understanding with the other person, which means they need to understand you just as much as you need to understand them. Right?
And then, sorry.
And then if we agree to disagree, as long as we understand each other, we're agreeing to disagree. It's okay for you to have an opinion that is not 100% in alignment with mine, but if I can understand you and you can understand me, then we can comfortably be there. The problem is if I can't understand your thinking and you can't understand mine, then we're not comfortable with each other. So we can't comfortably say we agree to disagree. No, we don't agree to disagree. We're just disagreeing.
We're just disagreeing.
No, to agree to disagree, we both need to have some understanding of each other.
Yeah, that makes sense. And I think that's super strong. I love that particular approach. Because one of the things that I think people get confused with is just because you're trying to seek to understand in no way, in any way, means that you're validating that viewpoint from them. All you're trying to do is understand.
Yep.
I mean, and I could still think you're absolutely wrong, but just explain it to me. Well, let me understand how you can even come to that conclusion.
When you have the ability to give someone back their argument to them to show that you understand, then it doesn't feel like you're attacking them as much. Right. And then the other thing is what I consider really the challenge. Can I give them back their argument stronger than they can?
Yes.
And I often find I can, mainly because I tend to think very wide when I'm in a position. I think second order consequence. I think third order consequence. So when someone tells me something and all they've talked about is a first order consequence, and I come back and go, I can see that. I can also see this and this and this and this, all defending your opinion.
Yeah, right. Exactly.
Right? And I'll even tell people, if you're going to have this argument with someone else, use this argument. Don't use that argument. Your argument is the weaker one of these three.
Right.
Right.
Yeah,
and I
yeah.
will tell them that. And I'll say, that's the argument that I would have a hard time attacking.
Yeah, right. I think that's
Right?
good. Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
And I can still disagree
and I'll
with them.
tell you, that's the way to move them to your side, is because first you meet them where they are. You're like, okay, I'm seeing the world through your lens. And I used to believe the same thing. And then I got this other viewpoint, or I got this other information where I think, here's another way to look at it.
See, and that's
And
where
now
you're
they'll-
being nice and you're communicating with them. I would say I never had that opinion because I was never as close-minded as you are. I always had the entire view of the universe in my head. I never closed off those pieces of information.
Yeah,
No,
well, I'm not as smart as you are, Chris.
Yeah.
So, but I'll get there someday, maybe. Maybe.
Yeah, but then you see, the point is, you're saying you are trying to show that you can understand the world through their eyes.
Yes.
Now,
yes,
can
yes.
they understand the world through yours?
Well, that's a much harder thing to
But
do.
isn't that kind of what you're challenging them to do?
That's what you're trying to
When you
get
say
them to do.
when you say I can agree, I can think like you. Can you think like me?
Yeah. You're inviting them in a very soft way. And let me tell you something. Maybe they can, maybe they can't. But if they can in any way, they're much more likely to do that, because
Not only that, if I find someone who can think like me and still thinks the way they are, then I'm
Yeah.
like, oh, they do have a lot of reasoning behind this.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
When they can't think like me, that means they haven't done the same level of diligence of thinking that I have, and therefore they're further down the hierarchy of how much critical thinking they've done.
Yes. Or it could be, which is a gift. I mean, it's a gift for me, probably a gift for you too, is you may discover that they're 5 steps ahead of you. And that, for me, is like, that's even better than winning, because it's like, now you just taught me something. Now I'm smarter.
I love it when I find that person, but honestly, it doesn't happen often enough. I need
Well,
more
you're just not
people.
hanging out with the right people, and you just need to.
I need I need to hang around people that make me feel dumb.
Yeah, exactly. Right. Just like my tennis example, you should be playing with people that are just a little bit better than you,
Yeah.
Yeah, because if you just get shut down, you're like, this is no fun. I don't want to play anymore, right?
And the problem is when I get into like a real analytical conversation with someone and I'm talking to them and I realize that they're thinking in a way I thought of a year ago, 2 years ago,
Yeah,
5
right.
years ago. And
Yeah.
I'm like, okay, I've got to respect the fact that they're still thinking, but they're not where
Yeah.
I am right now.
Yeah, right. Exactly. Yeah, you got to go play with which is why you just got to level up, right? Which is AKA why I really would like to reinvent Toastmasters, so if nothing else, it forces me to up my game.
So I'm wondering, why Toastmasters? Why not just make a separate group?
Because
Why
that's
not make
way more work. I don't want to do the work to build something. I just want to go swim in the bigger fish pond and just hop in.
But my thinking is Toastmasters is focused on leadership and public speaking.
Yeah.
Why don't we go with something that also emphasizes creativity, innovation, learning, other things? You can bolt those on to Toastmasters, yes, but why don't you have a group where the whole purpose is that everything about growth is what you want, right? And then build that group, build that mastermind group.
Well, but here's the thing, though. Yeah. I belong to those groups. You typically have to pay to get into them, right? Like one of them, I don't pay a lot, but it's Eric Davis. He's an ex-Navy SEAL, right? He has a whole structure and he's got a mindset of thinking about it. And I'm like, okay, that guy's worth listening to, because I know he has done some really hard stuff, actually. That's why I'm intentionally, when I found out that Grok told me that I'm weak in discipline, I'm like, crap, I got to go get more discipline. And all of a sudden this 75 hard thing popped up, right? That is like if you want discipline, this is the kick in the balls, right? You need. It's not going to be fun, but this is what it is. And so I've been thinking about this. I'm going to switch, okay, just for a second, if you don't mind. I've been thinking about this, dumping this stuff in the water, and I don't have clarity. I mean, I've found a few things like in the Q&A, like you're saying, but I don't find
Dumping the stuff in the water means adding supplements to our water, which it sounds like we're not supposed to be doing on 75 hard. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, exactly. Okay. Yeah. And in this particular case, adding stuff that is actually really beneficial to me in water. Because I know last night, man, I was having because I haven't taken any of the element in 3 or 4 days. I mean, I was getting bad leg cramps. I didn't take my magnesium. And so I'm hoping tonight I eliminate, because I did like 3 packs in my water today, actually. So I need to get some salt in me.
So you know how I make my own, right?
Yeah, I know. Yeah, you're cheap. You're cheaper than I am.
So what I do is I take these little like 3-ounce containers or 2-ounce containers that you get salsa in at the store or whatever at the fast food joint, and I have a whole bunch of these. And what I've been doing is I put in creatine.
Okay, yeah.
Gosh, what else is I'm putting in there? GABA. Oh,
A little bit of
then I
wood.
put in the element in there,
Okay, yeah.
and I just mix that in, and I call it my electrolytes, but it's all that stuff that's mixed in
Yeah.
there. So
Yeah. So here's what I was thinking. So I was watching him. I saw some video or something. I was watching him, and he's like, "Let me just give you the overriding general view. If you ever get
so this is
confused."
the guy who came up with 75 hard.
Yes, yeah, I can't remember what his name is. Yeah,
Andy
A
something.
something.
Andy something.
Yeah.
Rather.
So his general rule was, if you ever have a question and you have a fork in the road, always take the harder road. Is the general overriding
I mean, that's the whole purpose,
philosophy.
right? Discipline has value because it's hard to do.
Yeah, so then what I was thinking, okay, now that I'm pushing back saying that's dumb and that's stupid and everything, I'm thinking, okay, let's say I want to actually play along. Then what would I have to do? I'd maybe just get 8 ounces of water, put the salt in there. It'd be super salty. I'd have a drink of that, and then I'd follow it up with a chaser with straight water. I mean, technically, I think I'd still be would do. I mean, but then I'm thinking,
Well,
okay,
the point is to get a gallon of just straight water and then whatever else you want to add to it.
Yeah, but to me, the logic is I don't see how that's going to benefit me in any way.
So your resistance to doing it is what you're overcoming.
That's what I try, and I understand. Do I even want to overcome that? Does that make any sense to do that? Because what I want to do, I want to build self-discipline by doing difficult things, but a caveat on the difficult thing. I want to do the difficult thing that's going to benefit me to get to my goal. That's my overriding thing. I'm not going to do something difficult that's not going to support my goal. And
but Scott, the idea here is any level of discipline supports you towards moving towards a goal. Because discipline is just being able to do something difficult when you don't want to do it.
Yeah, I get that, but the tasks matter though. But I'm not gonna. Okay, here, let me think. I'm not gonna do a tactic that doesn't get me to my goal either. That makes no sense to me. I want to understand the purpose behind it. So the drinking of the water, okay, yeah, I guess that builds discipline. But in my mind, it's like I want to make sure I'm well hydrated so I can perform well. I mean, that makes a lot of sense.
Scott, for years we've been told drink half a gallon of water a day, right? And that was like the norm. And then it's like an ounce per pound. I don't know. I don't know what the actual thing is, right?
Yeah.
And at the end of the day, but if you start drinking 2 or 3 gallons of water a day, you can actually overload your kidneys.
It's bad. It's bad for you. It's harmful. I don't want to do that.
That's my only concern, is that I end up drinking too much. But hydration, you don't need a gallon of water a day. That's going to overhydrate.
Well, I don't know what you need. I think everybody's different based on temperature, how much you sweat.
But basically, you don't need a gallon a day. You're going to need something less than a gallon a day.
Okay.
But the gallon is
why do the gallon a day?
I was actually thinking, what happens if you're a 110-pound woman and you're doing this?
Yeah, that's crazy. Yeah, exactly. Which means if I'm thinking to myself, it should be easy for me then.
But so I think the thought that I have on this is hydration is probably the initial impetus for this.
Yes, right.
But it is not the only thing you're getting out of this. The other thing you're getting out of this is the discipline to do something slightly uncomfortable. A gallon is slightly uncomfortable, if not very uncomfortable, depending on your size. And not only that, the fact that you have to, it's going to impact the other things you normally drink, the tea, the coffee, and everything else, because suddenly you're now at 1.5 gallons of liquid you drink a day instead of just 3/4 of a gallon or half a gallon. So suddenly,
But why? How does it benefit me, though? It doesn't benefit me, because if it's not going to get me closer to my goal, what I'd rather do, Chris, is rather add on something else that's hard to do, that's actually going to get me closer to my goal, right?
I understand the logic, but let me just push back.
Okay.
You're shying away from something you're told to do as part of a program. And you're thinking, I shouldn't have to do everything in this program because I don't like it. I'm going to go do something over here. That's the thing you have to overcome. You have to put up with the crap because it's the crap that you have to put up with.
let me
And so
think
here,
about you. Hang
yeah,
on.
here he's saying these are the 5 things you need to do. I don't care if you like them or not. You're going to do them. I don't care if you see the value in all of them or not. You're going to do them. And by doing them, that's the skill you're building. The discipline to do crap you don't want to do because you know it has to get done. Not because you agree it has to get done. You know it has to get done. He's saying you have to do it. You have to do it.
But I don't believe it's going to benefit me.
Doesn't
right?
matter if you believe it's going to benefit you. You have to do it because that's what it's defined as.
Yeah, but then okay, then maybe then I'm quickly coming to the conclusion I don't want to do 75 hard. What I want
Okay?
to do is I'll craft my own one up that'll be equally as hard or maybe more difficult.
It won't be equally as hard if you're not doing things that you don't want to do.
Well, no, I'll still do the things I don't want to do, maybe even more than in hard 75.
Because you still want to do them. You still see the value in them, and therefore that's how you're justifying it. You're running away from the task list because of whatever reason, and saying I'm going to replace it with other things that I think are more valuable, and you're losing some of the mental discipline that you're supposed to be building by doing the things whether you agree with them or not.
Okay, let me go. I'm just gonna like. Typically, what I do is I'm gonna push edge cases. I'm gonna go crazy edge case. This is stupid, but just as an example, it's like, okay, what I want you to do is I want to slam your head into the wall 5 times a day because it's hard and you don't want to do it. I mean, that to me is just stupid, right?
Yeah.
And I know these examples aren't at that extreme, but I'm just using that. Why would you do that?
So my argument would be if any of these 5 tasks are hurting you, actually causing you damage, then you shouldn't be doing them. Right? That's the only argument I have is like if I drink a gallon of water and I still couldn't drink 2 cups of coffee and 2 quarts of tea, that's pushing me towards a limit of what my kidneys can handle. That's probably not good. So what that means is I need to cut back on the tea, I need to cut back on the coffee, I need to cut back on those things.
But maybe you need to cut back on the water too, right? I mean, maybe.
The water, a gallon a day, my body can handle. That means though, that probably I have to stop tea entirely. I have to stop coffee entirely for the 75 days.
See,
I have to give that stuff up to meet the qualification.
Now that makes sense to me because drinking tea and coffee in no way benefits me to hit my health goals.
Mm-hmm.
So I agree with that. That makes sense, actually.
Mm-hmm.
Total sense. In fact, but even the extra water, if my body doesn't need it, can harm me. And I'll tell you how. It's because I may have to go to the bathroom more at night, which is
I now wake up. I've been waking up every 2 hours to go to the bathroom simply because of the sheer amount of liquid in my body. I have
bad because I know sleep is the critical, most important foundation.
It sure is.
So that seems like it's a dumb idea to me.
Oh, so you think like sleep deprivation that SEALs go through? Not that this is the same level as that. Is a bad thing and they shouldn't do it?
No, because it's for a short period of time. Chris, one of my key things is
your body should get used to the amount of water that you're drinking to a point where you should be able to sleep longer. You have to acclimate to it.
Like one of my biggest challenges right now is self-discipline, but it's also sleep, right? And so if I need to do the cognitive things that I've got to do to build this company every single day, I need to be like my mind's got to be focused, sharp for at least 8 to 10 hours a day of work that I've got to do. And if anything takes me away from that, cut it. That's a bad idea. I mean, that's a strategy in my mind, right? And so
I get that. What does water have to do with that?
Because water takes me away from that goal. Okay, yeah, I get it that maybe it builds self-discipline, but what I'd rather do?
So Scott, drink your gallon of water before 5 p.m. So when you go to bed, it's all out of your system.
Okay, I mean, and that's what I'm planning on doing. That's what I have to do, actually. Yeah, and I still have one more. I have one more cup. This is 3 cups. I drink 4 cups a day, actually. But I mean, is my logic off, or is my logic solid, or is it?
I think the fact that you think the task is malleable is a form of escape from doing the task.
Okay, there's no question that it is actually, but here's my thought though. I like to do the hard things that I want to do. I like that, but it may be a different set that's more productive to get into.
Doing the hard things you want to do is not the same as doing hard things you have to do.
But okay, in that case, then why not just slam my head into the wall 5 times a day? I mean,
well, that specific example is not a good example because you're actually causing damage. I'm sure you can come up with something else, but that isn't giving you the benefit. The point here is they pick something, the exercise and the diet are good things. We know
100%.
that those are
I
going to be
can't
for you.
argue with that, right?
Hydration as a whole is a good thing. The gallon throws me a lot, but I'm coming to accept it more.
Okay.
The picture is a big thing because then you get used to seeing yourself and then also hopefully driving yourself to get better, right?
Oh, I
That's
like that
right.
idea. Boy,
Right.
hey, let me say,
And
I
then
don't
and
like
then
it,
and
but I
then
think it's valuable. Yes.
the one that doesn't fit to me is the reading because like reading, read 10 pages a day. That's nothing. I can read 10 pages a day,
No, I know, but some things it's
right?
easy, some things it's hard. Yeah.
But the point being is it's to balance the different types of tasks. You've got health tasks, mental tasks, physical tasks. You've got the different tasks you're working on, and regardless of whether you think the value you get out of the task is there or not, for 75 days you commit to do these tasks, regardless of the actual value you think the task is. What you're actually getting is a discipline to follow rules and to follow through and to make sure that you are following it to the letter. And at the end of it, you know whether you followed it to the letter or not. You are the only one accountable to yourself at the end of the day.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
are you
right.
the kind of person who says, I can get crap done the way it has to get done, no matter what, no variance at all? Or are you like, I can get through it, but I'm going to have to make adjustments based upon what I feel like? And there is a difference there in how you think about yourself at the end of it. So I'm actually getting more and more inclined to think that I have to do exactly as it says, simply because then I'm not forcing, I'm not trying to adapt it to some personal value that I've got.
Yeah, no, I hear that argument does make sense. As long as like the overall, as long as you're not harming yourself.
Yes. And so I think you can find ways to adapt to the gallon so that it impacts your sleep less. I think your body will slowly adapt to it as well. I think there's a lot of stuff going on there. The thing that is, though, like, I still have this problem. Like, well, but that means for me to have my electrolytes, I've got to drink more than a gallon because I can't use it in the gallon,
Well,
right?
then how are you going to ask the question? I mean, how would I do then? Because I typically need probably 1 or 2 packs a day on average, maybe 1.5 average across everything to get enough salt and the magnesium and potassium. So would I
That's a lot.
1 pack a day is not a lot.
The amount of sodium you get in that's a lot. You're not getting sodium from the food you eat?
Well, yeah, I dump salt on like crazy.
You, I think you're getting too much salt there. More than a pack a day to me, unless you're sweating everything out.
No, I'm not sweating everything out, but listen, I have gone for the last two, not today, but the previous 2 days without taking the element and without taking magnesium
Okay,
out.
well, so back to your problem.
Yeah.
Drink both packs at once. Put them in 8 ounces. Drink an ultra salty 2 packs at once, and load your system.
Okay, so that's the answer then. Maybe
And
that's
do that in the morning. So I know like a lot of people will drink a teaspoon of salt in water in the morning.
okay.
Right? So your body needs it most in the morning. You're most dehydrated in the morning.
Yeah, fair
So
enough.
first
Okay.
thing you do, mix 2 packs with 8 ounces of water, down that, and then start your gallon.
Okay, I can do that. That I don't like it,
I don't,
but
but
I
that's
can
the point,
set up.
right?
That's fine. I can deal with
Yeah.
it though.
No,
I
but
can
you
deal
don't like it, and that's good. That means that you're gonna be forcing yourself to do something you don't want to do.
because even in 32 ounces of water, it's still salty 1 pack of these.
I know.
So
But then it's like drinking medicine. I mean, yeah, heck, you can go down to 4 ounces,
yeah,
but that
just
would be
take your medicine. Yeah, okay. Okay.
you know.
Okay.
It's like
Okay.
when you take your supplements and vitamins. That's not fun, but you do it.
No, it's like takes 3 minutes, and you just suck it down.
Yeah.
It's like you got to do it. Just do it. And it's never as bad as you first. It's like, okay, it's over. Just get it over with and be done with it and move on or whatever. Okay, so then I can do that. I've solved the water problem. You've helped me solve it. There you go. I can do that. So that means then that today I can't start. This is not a start day.
Okay, because you can't do the gallon.
No, because I've had 2 salts in 2 of these. So I've had half a gallon of
I
water with
see.
salt in it. So I've forfeited that.
So
So
you start
now my
tomorrow.
mind, yeah, now my mind goes, well, maybe I don't need to do the picture. Maybe I don't need to do my second workout then because I already failed. I think that's a bad way of thinking about it. That's
So I've
bad.
been doing that for the past week to prep for this because remember Dan said
Yeah.
that we should be doing as much of this as possible so that when it starts, it's not as hard for us.
Yeah, right. And I don't really care if it might take me a week to get to my first actual real completion. I'm fine with that because I'm still getting benefit from it.
Yeah.
So I'm okay with that.
I
Yeah.
I find myself doing like the 45-minute workout, and I'm like 35 minutes in and going, oh, I can't stop still.
Yeah, right. But I'll tell you what happened to me today because I went out on my patio and it's like I live basically like my backyard is basically like in a park. I mean, it's tons of grass and trees and everything. And I thought, man, this is awesome. I was out there at like 6:45 today. The sun was, coming up. It was beautiful. The trees were thinking, I'm like, this is like really freaking nice, actually.
Hmm.
I
And
mean,
you get the sunlight in the morning, which Huberman
which
says you need
helps
to have.
my sleep, right? Because that's my whatever your circadian
Circadian
rhythm.
rhythm or whatever the heck it is, yeah.
Oh, and so I'm like, this is good for me. And
Yes.
I was talking to Grok, and she was giving me the exercises, telling me exactly what to do. And I was like talking to her about how AI works and everything. So typically I'd have been doing that just sitting in the chair. So I'm like, this is awesome. I'm like stacking, two things at one time. I'm like, this is really good.
See, that is the one thing I do like about this. The tasks that are assigned is they're not dictating what kind of a workout you have, except to say
Yes.
one has to be outside at least,
Yeah, right.
right? They're not dictating the food you eat, except there needs to be a planned
Gotta
meal,
be good
basically,
food, right? Not
right?
crappy food.
The only thing that they're dictating is you have to you have to do the task, right?
Yes, right.
And so the water is that's one thing. Like when I asked, can I put electrolytes in water, and it said no, you can't. I go, "Ugh,
Okay.
okay, and
Yeah.
I had to overcome that whole thing.
Yeah,
And,
okay.
and so basically, I'm just going to accept. I'm going to be drinking a lot less coffee and tea over the next 75 days.
Okay.
Um, I'll still drink coffee. I like coffee,
Yeah.
but I'll
Yeah.
be drinking a lot less of it.
Yeah.
I may go
Okay.
back to espressos because that's a
There you
lot
go.
less
Yeah.
liquid.
Okay. I mean, it kind of sort of defeats the purpose a little bit because it feels then like now I'm going to concentrate it. Like the same, my solution is dump 2 and 8 ounces. I mean, it's concentrated to get around it. I feel like it's a little bit of a workaround in my mind, but
It
okay, I'll,
is,
I'll keep it.
but the idea here is you don't change the task to fit your need. You change yourself to fit the task.
Yeah, that I'm not used to that
No, but
actually.
think about that. We get to a point where we have enough control over our own lives, especially when you're running your own business and you have full say in everything. You're
Yeah.
used to being able to say, I can just adjust the process to meet my need.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
that's fine in most situations. However, there are some situations where the world or reality won't let you change it. Right?
Okay,
I
fair
can't
enough.
change biology. I can't change certain things to meet my need. I've got
Okay.
to learn to adapt. And this is kind of reinforcing that thing, when you were a kid, your
Okay.
parents told you what to do and you did
Okay.
it. Not didn't
Okay.
matter if you liked it or not. This is the same kind of philosophy.
And this is what I needed. I just needed to get my mind wrapped around the point that this is good for me, that I'm going to get benefit from doing this.
Yes.
Because
I,
as a general rule of a Navy SEAL, if you talk to a Navy SEAL, it's like, Liam, man, we can take a lot of punishment and we can abuse our bodies like crazy, but it's always for a purpose. If you're doing it just for no good reason, they call that this stupid. They're like, that's the dumbest thing you could ever
well,
do.
so Scott, I think you could build a program that you would get benefit from. I could build a program I get benefit from. But the challenge is you built it and I built my own. If
Yeah,
I built yours and you didn't like what I put in it, but you still did it, then that's where you're getting the extra value.
that's the
And
benefit.
same
And
thing, right?
that does line up with what Huberman says, right? Because he was talking about that part of your brain that grows, that self-discipline part, actually, the task has to do it has to do 2 things, right? It has to be hard, and you don't want to do it. Other than that, it doesn't grow. It doesn't grow that little part in your
I
brain.
mean, the whole idea of the 2 45-minute workouts, that's an hour and a half a day of workout. Like,
Yeah,
guys,
right.
it's a lot. Can't I
Yeah,
just do 2 30-minute workouts or can I just, no. The idea is it's a little bit difficult, a little more difficult to set aside
yeah,
that time to
yeah,
make sure that when you've got a Zoom call till 9 p.m.,
yeah,
that you're gonna find a way to fit in that 45 minutes after that,
yeah, yeah, yeah,
right? And it's the
yeah,
commitment to doing it that builds your character or your discipline. It's not, that it's not like, oh, I'm gonna half-ass it.
yeah. Right, right. It's just you're putting in structure in your day that ultimately that skill, which they talked about, discipline is a skill set. You learn it. That discipline is gonna like even though it may be I'm trying to get it in my head, even though in 75 days it may not be the optimal solution, but now since you've gone through that, you've learned that, now for the rest of your life you get to carry that value forward.
Yeah. Well, I think part of it is also you're setting an expectation of how you complete that task.
Yeah, right.
Say
Right.
if your task was you're going to do a workout, and what you decide to do is I'm just going to go outside and I don't know, spin in circles for 45 minutes.
That's fine. That's good. Yeah, that's
That's
good.
fine. It's fine, but maybe you're not trying hard enough. Maybe you know that you can do more than that. In which case, you're setting an expectation for yourself that's below what you're capable of.
Very
So I think
possible.
there's an underlying thought here is to do something that is constructive as well. So
Yeah,
you're
right.
building a diet that probably is not what you're going to want to eat all the time,
Right, right,
right?
right.
And you're doing exercise in a way that's going to cause you some level of discomfort.
Yeah,
And so all of it is designed is to get the mindset of I'm going to do things I don't want to do, and I'm going to do them to a level that's acceptable for me. And
yeah,
I think when Dan says he's doing it for the fourth time, I think when you do it the second time and the third time and the fourth time, you can up your expectation
yeah.
of yourself.
Yeah, up it. Right, exactly. Yeah, right, 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 right.
Right. So maybe the first time you just spin in circles for your
Well, that's what I
exercise.
did. I just like moved around. I was just sitting on the thing, moving my leg, doing like a
A
chair
lot of
yoga kind of thing.
mobility is a big thing as we
Just
get older,
moving.
right?
Yeah,
So yeah,
right.
but you can see that next time you do it, your body's in better shape. So next time you're doing
Yeah,
something else. So
yeah.
I mean, I think it's not just the completion of the task, but it's how you deliver what comes out of it is also
Mm-hmm.
what you're saying, right? So you could do a 20-minute workout instead of 45. No one's gonna know
Nobody's gonna
except
know. Yeah,
you.
except for me. Yeah.
So when you finish it, I'll go, I finished it, except for that one day that I did a half-assed job.
But then you didn't finish it, right? In your mind, and that
Right.
lowers your self-esteem, right?
Well, and so then you realize, oh crap, I wasn't quite strong enough to do it the way it was
Yeah,
supposed to be
right,
done,
right, 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 right.
right? And you can
Yeah,
take that one of two ways. I'm a failure, and I give up, or oh, no, but I got close. I'm gonna try. I'm gonna get it next time.
yeah, yeah, yeah. You know, it's so funny. I had this discussion with Alan Goes, which you know, right? I mean,
Yep.
you know, I was a little bit on my blue belt. He just gave me a blue belt. Normally, people get tested, and I kind of challenged him on that a little bit. I'm like, I don't really feel like I um earned my blue belt, and he got a little pissed at me. He said, "Listen to me. I've trained thousands of people, right? You deserve a blue belt." It's like, don't tell me, right? This I've done this my whole life. Don't tell me when I give a blue belt, when I don't give a blue belt. It's like you earned this blue belt. I don't care if you feel like you've earned it or not. I say you earned it. And I mean, that totally changed me. It's like that was like a really cool thing of external validation. And I said, yeah, but I still suck. He's like, yeah, you totally suck. You do suck. I'm not going to be, but you don't suck as bad as you did 3 years ago, you
So
know?
he's right, but he's also not taking into account one thing. And in a simplified view, I think it's perfectly fine. What you find an acceptable level of competency and what a different person finds an acceptable level of competency may not be the same, right? So how often do you have a task to do and you do it and you're like, I finished that, and you see someone else do it and they're like, how the hell is that acceptable?
Yeah, right.
That's crap. Or you're like, oh my god, they just blew me away.
Yeah,
Here it's like you make your little, I don't know, macaroni necklace for your mom, and the person next to you is making like this huge huge
yeah, right,
thing to
right,
wear,
right,
right? And
right.
it's like and what is the acceptable amount? And
Yeah,
so this is the other thing that we don't talk about a lot of, but high performers have high expectations of themselves,
yeah, right.
right? So if you think about, if you were to compare an Elon Musk or Thomas Edison or any of these people with
Yeah,
like an average person and say, okay, you got to go do X, you got to go make dinner. Let's just give them
yeah,
a task. You got to go make dinner. The quality of the dinner that's going to come out of that is going to vary drastically by the person
very drastic.
involved. Not just do they know how to cook dinner, but how do they approach it?
Yeah,
What is acceptable to them as an outcome?
yeah,
Right? One person might scramble some eggs and say, there's dinner, and the other person puts together a 7-course meal.
yeah, yeah,
Right?
right, right, right,
It's the level of expectation. So I think part of what this is going to do, aside from the discipline of doing the task, is helping you level set what your level of expectation is of yourself.
Yeah, I think I need to trust the process. You know, and I will tell you, like my first year of jujitsu, I was questioning everything. I literally drove him insane, actually. He's
Mm-hmm.
like, just stop with the questions. It's like basically you're asking calculus questions and you can't even add 1 + 1 = 2 yet, right? You just stop it. Right? Just copy.
But
Left foot here, right foot there, you know?
I understand there's this thing about trusting the process.
Yeah.
So this whole branding class I took, there was all these things we had to do, these questions we had to answer, these exercises we had to do, and I didn't see how they fit together.
Yes, right.
So I was like, what's the purpose of that? Why am I doing this task? And
Yeah, right.
just do it. I'm like, no, I need to know what the purpose of the
Yeah,
task is, so
exactly. I hear that.
I can adjust my activity to towards that goal.
Yeah.
I'm not judging the goal. I just want to know what the goal is,
Yeah, how
right?
it fits in with
And
everything.
but this is how you approach life, and this is how you're able to accomplish a lot of things, because you're able to see the destination before the average person does, and you're
Yes,
able to
yes,
adjust along the way. The
yes,
problem is the way a lot of things are learned, knowing the destination is not going to help you,
yeah,
or it may distract you, right?
yes, yeah, exactly.
Maybe the destination is a mile that way, but the path is 10 miles long to get there.
Yeah, right.
And you're seeing it as a mile away, so you're trying to go at it a mile away, but it's actually the real path is 10 miles long,
Yeah, right, 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 right.
right? And your teacher knows that,
Your
so
teacher
that's
knows.
why they're doing it. But the other thing you've got to realize is the person who asks these questions gets benefit from that in life, because in most situations it gives them an advantage over the person who doesn't ask that question.
Yeah, no, no. In a general rule, right? But I'm going to push back against, unless you're truly dealing with a master, and then, and he said, listen, not only am I very capable of doing jiu-jitsu, I've proved it. I'm like an 8-time world. I've been in hundreds of actual cage fights. Trust me when I tell you, and I've trained thousands of students. I understand. I am 25 steps ahead of you. It's like I know everything. I can look at. He said literally, I can look at a black belt and I can watch them roll for 20 seconds, and I know everything about them, every weakness, every strength, because I've just seen the pattern so many times. And he's like, you have to trust me. I'm telling you. And then as soon as I did that, Chris, as soon as I as soon as I operated, just tell me what to do. Man, my jujitsu got it just like shot up like because I stopped fighting him on everything. I just did what he told me to do. You know,
But it's not fighting,
it wasn't my
right?
mind. I was fighting. I mean, that's what he described it as. He goes, "Why are you so weak? You're
Yeah,
just fighting
I
me."
think so. My question is there ever is there ever a situation where asking why is not the right thing to do? Because it sounds
Yes,
like, in
many
this
times,
situation,
many times.
and
Yes.
I'm going to argue no.
Okay.
It
Okay.
may not be the thing that gets you movement. It may not be the thing that gets you further along.
Yeah.
But I think the mindset of asking why is always the right thing. You just have to put up with the fact that sometimes you just won't know.
Well, this is his explanation to me is like what's happening when you start asking, you're going on tangents and you're avoiding learning what you need to learn right now. And so you're actually slowing your progress down significantly.
So that becomes, why did you ask why?
Yeah,
If
yeah,
you're asking why to because you don't want to do it, like, oh, why is like a teenager? Why do I have to do this? Why do I have to do that? If you're asking
yeah,
it like that, then yeah, that's a problem. But if you're
yes.
asking why to truly understand, how does this fit in with everything else?
Well, and
How
many
do
times he would tell me, and he probably knew that he probably knew what I was doing every single time more than I did. Because a lot of times he explained it to me. He's like, "This is why we're doing a setup here. Let me give you a little preview so you kind of know where you're going." And other times he would be like, "No, just do this. Right? This is what you need to do right now.
yeah.
Just do it. Just
So
drink your water. Right?
my
Don't put
daughter, when
salt."
when she has to do things she doesn't want to do, will ask why all the
Yeah,
time.
right. So it may have been
Yeah,
a form of protest. Maybe he understood that probably, right?
and so she's asking why, not because when she understands it, she's going to accept it. She's asking
Yeah,
why
right.
because she doesn't want to do it,
Yeah,
right?
there you go. Yeah,
As
okay.
opposed to, what's the value of this?
Yeah, yeah,
And where does this fit? I'm not
yeah.
questioning that I need to do it. I'm questioning, where does this fit in the grander scheme?
Yeah, how does it fit together? Yeah. Give me a like let's elevators so I can sort of see the high level
Yeah.
view just for even a
So,
little bit, you
so
know?
like you put your foot in the wrong place in a stance and you get knocked down, and he goes, "That's why you put your foot there," right?
Yeah, right,
And,
right, right.
and and then you don't even need to ask because it's obvious. That's why I don't do that, right? But
And he
sometimes
did that many times to me. He's like, I don't understand why you do that. Wouldn't it be better to put your foot here? And he wouldn't even tell me. He's like, come over here. Put your foot where you want to put it. Boom. Oh, okay. I see.
well,
Now put
so
your foot here,
you
right?
asked why in an indirect way, and he answered you in an indirect way, in a very direct way, I guess.
He taught it to my body, not to my mind.
Yeah, but that's because of what you were learning, right? So I think
Yeah.
this is um that's kind of reality, right? Basically, he said, here's reality. Here's what you think, here's reality.
Yeah. Here's
Right.
the
So the why is not reality. The why is a mental model. And
Yeah.
then what he's teaching you is the reality of that mental model.
And he's exposing the weakness. He's like this. He's showing me, not telling me why.
Yeah. And I think that the problem we get to is we try to go for the mental model first.
Yeah, us, the two of
Yes,
us.
you and I
That's
try to go for a
uncommon.
mental model first when sometimes just experiencing reality would make it clear faster.
Way more effective, way more faster, way more. And I remember doing that. Like I was rolling around with a black belt, and I was first launching into attacks on the black belt. And he's like, "Listen, Scott, you got to try to attack me. I mean, there's not a chance in hell you're gonna get me, but you just need to start doing some attacks, right?" And so I started attacking from where I wasn't in positional advantage. And he's like, "Don't attack from there." And I'm like, "Why?" And he's like, "I'm going to show you. Attack from there." And I'm like, "Oh, okay. That's why." Man, oh man, Chris, did it go in fast, right?
But so this is an interesting thing. So quite often we're afraid to commit to take action. You and
Yeah.
I often overthink things.
Yeah, because we
Um,
think that we can think our way through it. And some
but
things we
but
can, but not
companies
everything.
are this way. Organizations are this way because if you do something and fail, there's the implications of that, right? They don't set an environment where failure is acceptable, right? If you
Oh
set an
my God,
environment
jujitsu is 99%
but
failure.
if
You're
you set an
failing.
environment in a company where failure is acceptable, then people are willing to make attempts at things and screw up, but keep trying and keep trying, right? If you get punished for trying something that doesn't work, you're not going to try anything anymore.
Right. They
Right?
don't punish you in jujitsu, but they make it clear, Chris, that doesn't work. It's not going to
So what I'm
work.
what I'm getting at is jujitsu is not the way organizations work. It's not the way people think. However, a well-run, healthy organization understands that failure is a stepping stone to success.
Oh man, it can teach you so fast, you know? I mean, it can teach you because the cycle time is so quick.
But that's the whole fail fast, right? Fail
Yeah,
fast.
fail
Just
fast,
fail
right.
fast, fail fast, fail fast. Let's move forward.
Yeah, right.
And you hear of companies who give awards for like the best failure of the year or something like that, where they
Yeah,
embrace the fact that failure means you tried.
you tried. Yep, you tried. You tried. And here's the funny thing, even though you may fail like 95% of the times, but man, oh man, when you don't fail, I mean, you are probably head and shoulders above just the average person, even though with all those failures.
Yeah. So, well, but the idea being, right? So if you try 5 times and fail once, you have 4 successes. If you
Yeah.
try 500 times and fail 90% of the time, you still have 50 successes.
Yeah, that's right. That's
So,
right. That's right. That's right. Exactly. And every single one of those failures, you learn a little bit. You're like, oh shit, I can't.
yeah.
Even I thought I was safe in this point, but I'm not safe. But then you start learning what you can get away with who. Now, if you do that on a white belt or a blue belt, you'll get it 99% of the time. You do it on a black belt, good luck, man. Good
Well, so
luck.
now we get into what is the expectation of you doing that activity. So is the goal, to do it the best you can and get better at it, or is the
Yes.
goal just to do it good enough?
Well, it depends on how much pressure you have up against you, right?
Hmm?
It depends on how hard the problem is to solve.
Yeah, no, but so this is the difficulty I have with when you're trying to do something. Is
Yeah.
it good enough or is it the best we can?
It depends. You got to balance that by how hard's the problem to solve and how many resources you need to apply, both time, money, effort, to getting better at it. Because it might be that. Okay, so here's an example, right? Here's an example. So, the Navy SEAL guy. He teaches a whole life mission map where you map everything in your entire life, 13 different domains and subdomains, very complicated. And so you color code 3 colors. Green means it's good enough. Red means you need to work on it, that's hurting you. And another color, which is interesting, I fought this for a while, another color, blue, which means it's above green in the fact. So it makes no sense to work on anything with blue if you have any red available. Because now you're spending time working on something, you're misallocating resources when you should be putting that time to work on something red. Turn a red to a green.
And that's the exact opposite of some of the advice that's out there is like, find out what you do well.
Yeah.
And do it better than everyone else. And anything that you can't do well, farm it out.
But there's some things you can't farm out is the problem.
But the idea here being, if you want to excel in something and be the best at it, it's better to be the best at one thing than to be competent in 10 things.
Maybe. I don't know that I agree with that. It depends
I
on...
personally don't like that viewpoint.
It depends on how much pressure you have against you, right? Depends on how hard the problem is solved.
Yeah, but the philosophy here is, if you try to get good at everything, there are things you will never get great at. But if you concentrate on the things you can get great at, you'll be able to accomplish more. That's that philosophy.
Yeah, that. I mean that. It's hard to put a black and white because maybe
that
works,
contradicts what the plan you just said. So I'm like, I can see both arguments. I kind of like the one work on the red, so get everything up to a green. I kind of like that idea. But maybe the idea is take your blues and make them as pure blue as possible.
Yeah, but here's the problem though. If you have reds, you never get a chance to do that because you're going to be dead before you get there, right? So for instance, like in sniper training, you could be the best shot possible, but if you don't have a good sneaking up ability, you'll never get a chance to take the shot. They'll detect you and kill you before you even can do anything offensive. So it's like, okay, you're a good enough shot. Now let's work on the sneaking up a little bit. Okay, now we need to go back to the shooting. And so it's this constant.
What if you're the best shot in the world? What if you
What's
can make
that?
that shot from? What if you can make that shot from twice as far as anyone else because you're the best shot in the world?
Because there's physics involved.
So you don't need to get as close.
Because there's physics. You can only get so close. It's a percentage chance.
You can only get so far.
You can only you can only get so close. You're limited.
You can only be so far.
Yeah, right. You're limited. Your range is limited, right? Yeah, because of the technology, right? You've got to launch a little hunk of lead, across some distance, and there's just physics behind it. So,
but honestly, what if you are that much better than everyone else at shooting that you could be further away, so you don't need to rely on your sneaking ability as much?
That's okay. That's okay.
So the thought here being the best at something. In the world we live in today, the SME is the SME. Being the best at something in our current world seems to be the more valuable thing than being good at everything.
Yeah, but here's the difference though, Chris, is like being the best versus being average when you're playing at a high level. There's a difference, but it's not a significant difference is what I'm saying. Maybe.
So this is where, you can get really good at something with a little bit of effort. To get great at it takes a lot of effort, right?
A lot,
the returns,
right,
so you put in 20% of the time, you get to be 80% competent. To get that last 20% takes all the rest of your time to do that, right? So I'm much more of a generalist in viewpoint. I would prefer to be competent in a lot of things than incredibly good at one thing.
And see, the problem that we can't is you can't pick one or the other because it depends on what you're optimizing for. So you have to optimize for a particular case, right? This is not just something generic that you can say that applies to all problems. It's like linear algebra says that I'm going to have a particular problem. I have a series of equations, and I'm going to optimize for that outcome. But if I'm trying to solve another problem, the equations will be different.
So Scott, the issue here is what do I consider a level of competence that's competent, right? So if you think a level of competence is you're able to do, I don't know, you're able to do 5 jumping jacks. Yeah, and I think a level of competence is you're able to do 50 jumping jacks.
Yeah, right.
Then we've got a different definition here of what's considered competent.
Yeah,
Right?
it's measured
So,
against the mission. What are you trying to accomplish?
so when I say I prefer to be competent in a lot of things, my level of competence is probably better than the average person who's good at that job.
Maybe, maybe not. I don't know. That's the ego
No, no,
talking. You don't know
that
what
is
to
my
do.
definition of what was competent. How many times do you talk to someone who says this is what I do for a living, and you look at them and go, I could do that better than you,
Oh, okay, sometimes, yeah, sometimes
right?
actually. But that's not going to happen as you go up the food chain. All of a sudden,
But
it's like
that's what
now
I'm
your
saying. When
greatness
you're
is
up the
like
food
average.
chain, the SME becomes critical. That's how they went up the food chain, is because they were better at everyone else at that skill. So what
But
ends
it's
up
usually
happening
a
is
group of
they
skills.
can't adapt as much because their skill set's very narrow,
Yes,
deep
right,
and
right.
narrow, right?
But there's still a group of
I
skills.
prefer to have a broad and relatively deep skill set than a narrow and very deep skill set.
Yeah, but it still depends on the particular case. It depends on what your mission is.
Sure, Scott, but as a generalist, I can do more missions than that person can because I have a broader set of skills. They
Not
are
if
the
the
one,
problem.
I need the specialist for that one thing because they've got that expertise. But I can do 99 other things that they can't do as well.
Yeah, but it still depends on the mission. Yeah, it depends. It depends because
Yeah.
most of the time, it's not just one skill. Most of the time, it requires several skills blended
So when you
together.
talked about the Navy SEAL approach of taking all the reds and bringing them up, first
Yeah,
of all, I think his idea of bringing into a green probably has a higher level of competency to get to green than your average person to begin with,
I would think
right?
you
Then
define
then
green.
you're saying the generalist's ability is critical because there's so many skills you need to be in a number of situations. Then
Yes,
you
right.
say, and you have one piece of expertise that
Yes.
makes you ideal for certain conditions, right? So I think when you look at it from that aspect, you're still a generalist, and the generalist is what gives you the breadth of ability, and then the specific ability for a specific situation would be one SME skill,
Yeah, it depends on the thing. I mean, it's complicated. I think it's hard to
right?
generalize it
So
until
like
you
if you
concrete it.
give me a move in jujitsu.
Armbar.
Okay, so let's say you were the best person in the world at doing the armbar,
Yeah, right.
but you were crap at everything else.
And everything else, right.
Could you win?
Depends on who you're going up against.
Yeah, let's say
Depends.
everyone else you go up against is competent across the board. They're not the best at everything, but they're good, competent people at the rest of it.
Okay, let's assume that they're average in everything else, but you're significantly better at an arm bar than them. Let's say
Yes.
by a factor of 10 times better, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Okay, they're going to know that. And if they know that you're good with an arm bar,
They're not going to let you
they
get one, right?
they're not going to let you get one. But here's the thing though. You have no skill in the other areas, so you are so weak other areas compared to them actually.
Yeah.
So it depends. I mean, yes.
So Scott, don't give me the one off. 100 times a person who's the best in the world at the armbar goes up against someone who's just very competent across the board. Out of 100 times, who wins? How
Well,
often?
I don't know because I would need more specifics actually, and I
Mm.
don't know the exact numbers.
You can't propose
Let me
an idea.
propose. Okay, so let's say we're talking about two black belts, right? Two black belts.
Okay.
Is that what we're talking about? So two people roughly equally skilled, right? Is that the sum
No,
of?
no. We're talking about a guy who's the best in the world at the armbar and not and doesn't have even black belt competency and everything else. Let's say you got a black belt against a guy who is the best in the world at the armbar and is, I don't know, a blue belt and everything else. What's below a black belt? Brown? What is it?
A brown belt, yeah.
A brown belt.
Um, that's a tough one, Chris, because nobody ever trains that way. So I can't think of a use case where that makes sense.
See,
Actually,
Scott, this is where you and I differ. I could theorize that.
I can't because I can't. I don't have enough parameters
So
to actually model it.
see, I don't need the parameters because the parameters will change my thinking as they get introduced. So my first layer of thinking here is that if that guy gets you in an armbar, it's over
Oh, yes,
because he's the best in the world.
absolutely. Yes,
So the
absolutely.
other person needs to stay out of the armbar.
Yes.
So if your level of competency in every other skill is better than that person, you'll stay out of the armbar.
Depends. I mean, it depends on what the skill set is because if there's so many different skills, it's positioning, the angle that you're going into,
And
the
the other
mental
person
thing.
and the other person, not the armbar person, is better at all those things.
probably the other person's going to win.
right? And this is the theory that I'm trying to get here. So being the best at one thing is not going to work out for you in the long run. You need to have a balance of skills.
You need to have a balance of skills.
Right?
Now you can outsource that though, but you could be really good. But typically soldiers never go by themselves. They always have a vast support crew
So
behind them.
you're putting constraints in again.
Well, but I have to because
No,
there's always
I'm making a
constraints.
statement that being a specialist in one thing and not having competency in everything else makes you weak.
You're definitely weak. It depends though on what the scenario is, whether that weakness will kill you or not. It depends. I cannot have a generalized thing. I think that is such sloppy thinking to even consider that.
That's sloppy
I don't even
thinking.
want to go there.
It's not sloppy thinking. It's trying to come to an idea that I can work off of. And then the next thing you tell me, but what about the situation when they're both blank or when this person has this skill?
I don't know how to model that, Chris. I don't know how to model that scenario because it's never just like typically one skill, you know?
What do you mean it's not typically one skill?
It's never, whenever you have a mission, whenever you want to accomplish something, it's never just one isolated skill. It's usually a combination of skills. So, and on average, right, on average, the guy who has a wider range of skills, maybe not as good as this one, but he's still got to be good, but he's not exceptional at it.
That's why I told you about levels of competency. The person that's going to succeed has a high level of competency. It's not that they're the best.
But how high is high?
So let me take it this way, right? I've got someone who wants to build a piece of software, and they are the best coder in the world. But when it comes to their understanding of business processes, when it comes to their understanding of finance, all of that is mediocre.
Okay, mediocre, actually.
Okay. Yeah. Then I get someone who's better than mediocre at everything.
Okay, right.
Then they come in and they can't code as well as the guy because he's the best coder in the world. But they understand the business, they understand finance better, they understand all the pieces better. They're going to produce a better product or a better service than the guy who's
not necessarily. Not necessarily. No,
okay.
No, it depends on the scenario.
Now let me tell you this. You give me 100 scenarios with all the variables mixed up every time, and I'm going to say that the majority of the time, the person with a general skills that's above mediocre will outperform the other person. And I'm saying general because you want to go to constraints, and I'm saying you change the constraints in every scenario multiple times.
But
I'm trying to come up with a principle here, an overarching idea.
There's never a case where there's not constraints. Never. It's impossible to have that in the real world. Always constraints.
Okay, Scott. But what I'm trying to give you is a general rule that applies in most cases. And yes, the constraints will alter that. But if I say in 100 situations with variable constraints, which person will succeed more often?
I cannot model that. I do not know. I couldn't even begin to calculate.
The fact that you can't model that is, I think, shows where we're having a discrepancy here, because I can model that.
I don't think you can. I think you can, but I don't think it would actually reality. So what you have to do, this is the way I think of it. You build a model, and then you actually test it in the real world, because the only thing that actually matters is something operating in the real world, in the physical thing. So what you have to do is you have to build a model and then test. And then the more test in the different scenarios, then you can start to build up that theory to say, yeah, we've tested this, we've modeled it, and actually done it for real. And so now I can say, but if you're just relying on a general principle without modeling it, I think it's just nonsense, basically. I think it's completely useless because it depends on so many other variables.
All right, so give me a set of variables.
Well, we talked about the jiu-jitsu person, right? Somebody awesome in an armbar, but he's like totally weak in every other area.
Yep.
If he's completely inept in every single area, I cannot imagine that scenario happening. But let's just say that it did happen, right? And the other person was skilled in, let's say, takedown and a bunch of other, even moderately, he'd probably win the vast bulk of times in that scenario, in that specific case, right?
The non-armbar guy.
The non-armbar guy, yeah, probably. Yeah. But I'm not 100% sure. But it's like to think.
I'm not asking you to be 100% sure, because you don't know the conditions, so you can't say 100% sure. What I'm asking you to say is, if I throw a random set of conditions at you, and here is the guy with the armbar, and this is the other guy, and I say, here's one scenario, here's another scenario, here's another scenario, here's another scenario, here's a different scenario, and you think through, okay, what are the variables here that could occur? Okay, here's this variable, here's that variable. In 80% of these situations, I don't care what the number is. In the majority of situations, in over half these situations,
Yeah, over
the
half.
likelihood is the person who's got the breadth of competency skills over the other person who's got one really good skill is likely to come through. Is likely to come through.
Maybe it depends though on if the other guy truly has no other skills and all he does is armbar.
We just
which I
said
don't
that.
think-
We just said
but
that
I
the
don't
other
think that
person
case
is.
would actually happen. I don't think that you could ever. That it would never happen in
So
reality.
Scott, your realm of possibility here is he's really good at one thing and crap at everything else.
Yeah, that has zero skill. Right?
Two, he's really good at one thing and competent at everything else.
Yes. Yeah.
Okay, that's your realm of possibility in there.
Yeah, some
So
range of
if
that.
you start with the idea he's crap at everything else, that's your condition,
Yeah.
then he loses a fair amount of the time. In fact, the majority of the time.
I would think in that particular case, if that's what we do, the model is yes in the simulation. I don't think we ever see that in the real world.
Now let's slide the scale over to where they're they're expert at one thing and they're competent at everything else.
Okay, so in that case, this is what we're doing there. Now we're doing a situation that would be possible that we'd see in the real world, right?
So someone who is brown belt level at everything except for this one thing where they're like a 10th ranked black belt on this one move.
Okay,
right?
that's a big
Versus someone who's a black belt in everything.
Oh,
and let's say
in that particular case,
let's say they're a first level black belt and everything else.
Okay. I would say in that case the guy that does the armbar would probably win most of the time in that.
Okay, so you've got a sliding scale there at some point, right?
But the brown belt means you're pretty damn competent, right?
Got it. No, I get it.
Not a lot of difference between a brown belt and a black belt. Not a lot of
so then what's the next step down from a brown belt?
Let's say purple belt.
So purple belt. Does that change? Does the likelihood of winning compared to a brown belt to a purple belt skills, does that change?
Yeah.
Because basically you're moving all the way to a total novice who just doesn't know anything else, and that person's going to lose almost all the time, right? So basically you've got a threshold here, a sliding scale here, and depending on the condition you apply, that the amount of times he's going to win or lose is going to change because his skill set changes.
And not his.
So the model I'm building here is, let's start with a full guy only knows one thing and can't do anything else. He loses almost every time.
Mm-hmm.
The guy can do that one thing incredibly well, and he's pretty good at everything else.
Mm-hmm.
He loses a few times.
It's going to be less, right? Yeah,
right?
less.
And then anything in between is sliding towards he loses more and more often.
Yeah, I mean, the result's going to be somewhere between 0 and 1.
Right, so now we built a model where we don't know the condition yet.
Yeah.
All right, so now what I'm going to say is if someone is not competent, and competency is somewhere not on the right side of the scale, but on the left side of the scale.
But when you say competent compared to what, though? What are you measuring it against?
So let's say black belt is considered competency.
Okay, that's considered.
Or brown belt's considered competency. I don't know, maybe brown belt. Okay, then you say, okay, that's competency. This person is not competent. In fact, they're halfway on the scale. So whatever belt is halfway to the brown belt, that's where they're at.
The purple belt, say, yeah,
right. So now we say in a situation where you have people who get to that level of competency, but are really good at one thing, how are they going to succeed in a situation versus someone who is a brown belt across the board?
Yeah, that I don't know. I don't really know.
But what I'm getting at here is if the principle is being really good at one thing doesn't guarantee you win.
Right, it doesn't guarantee, but
what's
certainly
the threshold of competency you need to achieve in everything else to be able to win?
It depends on the scenario.
Right? Yeah. And so what you could say is someone who reaches that threshold. So let's say the threshold for a Navy SEAL is really high because they need to be able to do everything pretty well. So that's going to be like brown belt, black belt level for everything other skill. Yeah, they might be the best sniper in the world, but they need to be brown belt, black belt across the board.
Yeah, right. Mm-hmm.
Right. Someone who's running a business could be like a 10th degree to black belt in coding, but if they don't have at least a blue belt, a purple belt, whatever in every other skill, they're not going to succeed in business.
They're not going to. They might not even understand the problem.
Right? So what I'm getting at here is being a brown belt across the board in every skill has a level of success you can achieve everywhere, versus if you're really good at one thing and then less than halfway competent or whatever and everything else, you're going to have a limited set of scenarios that you can succeed in.
Yeah, right. And it's important to define those scenarios.
Yeah, so what I'm saying is I don't need to define the scenario to come up with the idea of what I just said.
No, the concept of it, but I don't think hang on, let me think. Because without the scenario,
I got to do the bathroom break. Sorry. Think about it while I go to the bathroom.
Ready to wrap up because I need to go. I need to wrap up because we're past an hour.
Okay, well, let's go ahead and wrap up. Yeah, we've been on for 2.5 hours, 2 or 3 hours.
Yeah.
Anyway, we didn't even just remind people to subscribe and to comment and to tell us how we're wrong and to tell Scott how he's wrong because we know he is. And
I'm always wrong, Chris. That's right.
Yes, except for when chat says that you're right.
Exactly. Yeah.
Anyway, and so everyone, thank you for that. Hopefully, we'll have a guest next week to come on, and I think that's it. So,
awesome,
Scott,
man, this is a great thing, and do your workout, Chris. I'm gonna go do mine right now.
I'm gonna go do mine too. Thanks.
Awesome.